What's going on, guys? You're tuning into another fun episode of It's Always Sunny in the Six. This week is a fun one. I'm joined by a couple of friends. 6 Degrees of Separation is the episode's name because I know them both individually, but I did not know that they actually know each other. Anyways, it's going to be a fun one. It's called Sunny and Friends Podcast. I'll be doing this every 4 weeks, sitting down with friends and kind of, shooting the shit and getting to know each other and just talking about things that are happening in our world today. And anyways, hope you guys enjoy the episode. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And yeah, let's get started. Let's talk about that a little bit. 6 degrees of separation is a real deal, honestly, right?
That's the beauty of Toronto. These friendships that come together kind of out of nowhere.
Totally.
Tangential, sideways, meet at a party.
Yeah. Then
mostly
meet at a party.
But then you form these connections that just kind of stick, right? So
yeah. I know. Yeah. I think so. Sam, I met you. I knew you for a while.
Yeah.
We met in the party scene, kind of.
Yeah, through Vlad.
Through Vlad, yeah. I went to school with Vlad, and then we kind of got close over the years, kept in touch.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's been over 5 years.
100%.
150%.
Yeah.
Riyaaz, we met at...
So I met you. I had left my keys at a mutual friend, Sumit's house, like at a house party that he had. And then he was in the city. He grammed that he was downtown at Cactus Club. Mm-hmm. So I was like, bro, bring my keys. Later on that night when we connected, it was here to pick up my keys, but ended up sticking around and partying with you guys.
Oh, right. And then the second time was when we had the wedding. Yeah. I had a wedding. I ended up leaving the reception, came back to my place, and then lo and behold, the person I Ubered with to Toronto was Nirav. Narish.
Yeah.
Like my Narish?
What up, Narish? Our Narish, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Our Narish, yeah.
And then casually, as we're in the Uber and I'm in the backseat, I'm like, oh, who do you know, this and that. And then your name came up, of course. So I knew that you guys had an affiliation and you guys were friends.
Yeah.
And then somehow, I think he's like, hey, I'm going to call my buddy.
Yeah, I was living right around the corner. So
he's like, he lives in the neighborhood. I'm like, yeah, go call him, no worries. It's all good. I see this guy show up, and it's Riyaaz.
That's what I said. Those connections you meet.
Sounds about right.
It's it's crazy. Like I think we're a big city, but I think that there's a certain level of personalities and characters, and I think we mesh really well, all three of us. Samantha, I had you on the podcast a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
For Stay the Fuck Home, and we kind of saw each other obviously virtually.
Yeah.
Things have changed quite a bit since.
So much.
What's going on in your life?
I feel like there was a lot of uncertainty back then when we spoke.
Right.
Like there was a lot of we don't really know what tomorrow's even going to be like. While I feel like now things have kind of just normalized. Like everyone's just like, okay, COVID's here.
Right.
Wear your mask. Wear your mask. Maybe you'll go back to work in a year. Like who knows even about that,
I know.
But I feel like things have changed a lot since we last spoke. Because when we spoke, it was a lot of speculating.
Yes.
Like what's going to happen, vaccine.
Seeing the work everybody put into it at the beginning with lockdown kind of pay off. That's what's changed, totally. I think. So you come around the other side of it, it's a different atmosphere in the city for sure.
Right.
Seeing people outside, walking around, sitting down, having lunch. It's nice to just see people out and about.
I mean, it's definitely made a lot of my friends active.
Yeah.
You end up starting not only working out on a personal level, but you get together, let's go for a walk, let's go for a bike, let's do something active, right?
Totally.
How have you guys been keeping busy during this pandemic? Riyaaz, what about you? What have you been up to?
I think trying to maximize productive times, it's a challenge at first, right? You first got to identify your biggest commodity's time, and then how do you spend it? So it's a way that's unproductive.
Right.
Focusing on yourself, focusing on your relationships, and then absent of the social scene, which usually is your default, to keep the group together, to keep the team together. It's been interesting to see how people create opportunities to get together and then at least have a good time. So. Mm-hmm. Riverdale Park, I keep referencing that park, but that damn hill over there is somewhere that you visit all the time now. Whereas, when you had the restaurants and stuff open, you might not have had over on the other side of the bridge. So it's been interesting.
I was there Friday morning, actually went for a run, and I know there's a section, the big section in the middle is cut off because usually Riverdale is, for those people who know that don't know what Riverdale is, it's a really nice park with an absolutely phenomenal view of the city.
That's cute.
And also it's a lot of runners go there because they do hill training and they have a track there as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's nice to see things opening up. I think it was on yesterday on Dundas West. There was I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was this huge block party outside Mahjong Bar.
Oh yeah.
Oh no way.
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah, that was it was on Block Teal this morning.
Of course it was.
It was the patios are overflowing, of course, and whatnot, right? But I mean, it's gonna happen at the end of the day. Summer is 5 weeks away. And people are like, okay, am I going to stay indoors for the rest of the summer or am I going to do something about it, right?
You just moved down here, right? So
Perfect timing.
days are getting shorter, but that's the whole point of Toronto in the summertime. It's that social scene. So
Yeah.
just trying to maximize what you can and can't do, but then also keep it within the constraints of what's safe. It's been fun.
Yeah.
I found like personally, you focus a lot more on like relationships absent, like I said, of the the nature of sitting at a pub or the nature of being at an event. You can actually sit down and talk to people. It can go one of two ways. You can get sick and tired of people, or can foster into something else. So how about yourself? Like
I know I agree with you guys. I mean, like, I think that for the biggest change for you was when I talked to you, Samantha. You were at your mom's.
I was at my mom's, and
big shout out to your mom, by the way.
Yeah.
Right, big thank you to her as well.
Yeah.
Your mom is a nurse, right? A registered nurse.
Yeah, shout out.
So she's been. I mean, I can only imagine the life that she's kind of been going through over the course of the last few months, right?
Yeah, totally. And honestly, I remember, I think it was back in like May or June. I forget when it was now, but I remember the moment when I went to her and I was like, I gotta go see my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm totally breaking the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel bad because you're a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I can't. She was like, go.
Yeah.
She's like, it's okay. I get it.
Yeah,
it's tough.
It's socialization, but still being smart about it, right? So
Totally. And like kind of like what Riyaaz was saying, like I feel like in terms of productivity on a professional level and personal level, I've been much pickier about how I spend my time, and that also includes who I'm actually hanging out with.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's probably part of the reason why me and him have become tight, because the crew that we know each other through are like my like number one.
Yeah.
You know, like Chris and Soam and Laura and everybody else. Like that's like my main crew. Not to say that
Feel free to throw in a shout out if you want. So
there's their shout out. I'm sure we'll bring them up again.
So how do you guys know each other? Sorry, I'm going back into the first question, but I know you guys, but what's the story between you guys?
So I met him at my best friend Chris's place.
Okay.
I don't remember when now.
It's got to be like a year and a half ago now.
Yeah, probably something like that. And then while we were hanging out, I realized that he knew other close friends of mine through work and whatnot, and it just became this.
Like I said, those tangential like relationships you just kick off, but then you realize, now we realize we've got some pretty close mutual friends as well.
Yeah.
Share the same friend group. Like you said about productive and uptime, it's also too, you're at home the whole day, working from home on calls and whatever, right? So then 5 o'clock strikes, but now it's like you've already been at home, so you're going to get out, but what do you choose to do with those 4 or 5 hours before the sun goes down?
Right.
And I think with my problem, and I feel like I've heard this from other people too, at the beginning of COVID, because there was nothing to do after 5, I found myself working until like, I don't know, 8, 9, even later on some nights, because instead of being like, it's 5, I'm out, I'm gonna go catch my GO train or whatever. Normally when I did, it was like, I've got a bit of work I could still do that I don't need to do tomorrow. I might as well just get it over with. But then it became this like really bad pattern. And it wasn't just me. So many people I've spoken to said the same thing.
Right.
They got into the habit of just like overworking because you're not getting up and taking breaks. Like I work just down the street from here. We used to walk to Italy even at lunch just to like chill and check things out. But at the beginning of COVID, when it was cold out and there was nothing to do, it was just like, I'm just gonna stay home and stare at my computer.
And the uncertainty, right? Like not having a definitive end date.
Exactly.
Is this gonna last a month, 20 days, 30 days? So
exactly.
There's like a lot of. It's easy to say, you want to be productive all the time, or you want to make the most out of your time, but not having that end date or when it was going to change. So I think like going into the summer and having an understanding of the stages and what the like ramp up's going to look like, subconsciously it also does wonders.
Yeah. Even then though, like it's gonna be. I mean, I don't know, man. Like it's definitely one of those things where like I think that as things are opening up, there's a chance that people are going to go to that normal of how it used to be, of course, right?
I think back?
I think so. I think once the vaccine comes out, but then a part of me also is saying that I think it's made us a little bit more germophobic in general.
It's not a bad thing,
right? And and especially think about like the kids that are going back to school. I had this conversation with my colleague. It's a bit contradictory right now what Doug Ford is doing, that kids are allowed to go back in school. And typically speaking, schools are definitely more than 100 people, 100 kids.
Yeah, kids are dirty.
Right, and kids are...
I caught chickenpox from my little sister when she was at daycare. I got it from the daycare. So, like, kids are dirty.
Yeah, think about that. Think about, like, the shit they pick. They touch everything. They pick stuff up from the ground, cooties and all that stuff. But, like...
So what's the alternative, though, for kids?
But that's the thing. I think the mindset is going to be a huge emphasis now in schools of that. You know what I mean? And as a kid now, for a kid's perspective, they're going to remember this pandemic and be like, okay, cooties is going to shut down the world, is what they're going to say. You know what I mean?
And even having your friend group, like in high school with social distancing, or a gym class with social distancing, like put yourself in those, like it's not going to be, there's no such sense or the sense of normalcy is always going to be different from what we knew it to be.
Totally.
I think it's interesting to think about there's that upside of, keeping people at home and being safe and like super conservative about it. But at the same time, we've had kids home from school since March, right?
Right.
I think of a 6-7-year-old who's been home for 6 months now.
Staring at like an iPad or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't even know. What are they even using?
Their mental health and their parents, man, they're probably going crazy. Right?
Yeah, and then staring at an iPad, imagine all the bullshit news that they keep seeing every day.
Yeah. What's interesting from a school standpoint, I don't know if you follow, like you look at NCAA college sports.
Yeah.
So these kids usually have 1 year and out, right? 1 year you do your thing, you get drafted. So if, like, for example, college football gets canceled for this year, what happens to those students? They change of plans for their life from where they come from has a impact far greater than I think we can even imagine just being out of school ourselves.
Yeah, my sister's in college. She goes to Mohawk. And my dad was saying to me the other day, he was like, you're so lucky. You got to physically go to Mac.
Right.
Hang out on campus, live in res. Like, your sister and like that whole generation right now, like they might not even have that while they're in school. And the fees are the same price.
Right.
Because I was asking my parents, I was like, did the tuition change? Because I think back to how much I paid and like, and what it went towards. And I'm sure so much of it went towards like residents having access to the food, paying for the grounds to be
facilities.
And I'm not saying that they're still not going to maintain that because obviously they kind of have to, but
there's a bigger margin that they're going to keep in their pockets now if that's not going to be taken into account, right?
Totally.
Even the quality of education, like I don't know about you guys, but taking a virtual class as opposed to being in person, TA time, not being able to go talk to a TA, it's totally different, right?
But even like it would suck for sure. I'm looking back at my university lifestyle and how I kind of lived through university.
It's the whole point. Yeah.
I mean, I remember 2008, the York had its strike.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we lost almost 3.5-4 months during that TA strike. We lost an entire semester.
Yeah.
And it got pushed and I remember we had to come back, I think June.
Oh.
And even that 4 months kind of messed up.
Oh, so you guys had to do like summer school?
Yeah, it was extended.
Make it up.
It was pushed. We had to make up for it.
Right.
Otherwise, we missed a year. But like, what do you do in situations like this where now you will literally you might miss an entire year? Yeah. You got to do virtual classes at the end of the day.
The upside might be that we might get better at delivering content virtually by the nature of like it's mandated right now, we have to, than we were in the past, right? So that's kind of like the tech iteration that's going to happen. Yeah. Kind of as a result or a consequence.
What do you guys think about school in general, though? What's your as we're older and we're kind of in our careers, do you think there's flaws in the current school system that could be potentially improved, or you think that there are trends that are going to come out of this, like homeschooling, or
I mean, me coming from Oakville, just the people I went to school with.
Right.
Yeah, I think homeschooling is going to become more normal.
Yeah.
For sure.
Especially your parents being like skeptical, right? Sending kids home.
Totally. Because like when my sister was in elementary school and I was at Mac, my parents found that she wasn't getting enough attention in the regular public school system. So they were like, we're going to put her in a private school where she's going to have way more attention because the public school has 30 kids or something like that now.
Right.
While the private one is like, I think 15, 10, that kind of thing. Yeah. But it's so hard to keep a kid's attention when they're just sitting in front of you. So I don't even know what these teachers are going through. Because the thing is, their training in teachers college is probably based on them physically being in the room. Yeah. How do you figure out someone's behavior off of Zoom?
I know.
I don't even know. Like it's just I
tough.
feel bad for them too.
Yeah. Like even getting them to kind of pay attention. I mean, it's a struggle as it is when it comes to like in their classrooms, right? Yeah. Now imagine like virtually.
You try and teach a grade 9 student like y = mx + b slope of a line over Zoom. Right? You have 30 kids on that Zoom, like not able to ask questions or draw it out and stuff. It's going to be, but I think it'll force our hand to get smarter about some of the things that we probably lagged behind in society on for a while, right?
Right.
And then like, what about their home life? Because like I've been, where I work, they were donating like iPads and a bunch of other stuff to some schools, like some school districts in Brooklyn. Okay. Just because like they come from families that don't have iPads are expensive.
Yeah, no shit.
Like sure, you want my kid to stay home, but like you need to.
Where's the computer?
I don't have a computer. Like you're just assuming that I have internet. I might not have internet.
That's actually a really good point.
You don't know. Yeah. And I remember reading about that a lot because I have a lot of family in New York, so I try to pay attention to what's going on down there a lot. And my cousin runs like an after-school program for kids in Brooklyn, and he was telling me about it.
Okay.
He was like, yeah, like a lot of the money we've had raised from what we would normally put towards the after-school program, we're trying to help them out by giving them iPads, maybe even helping them pay for their internet, because there's that assumption that like you have all that at home, but that's not essential.
Not
like it's It's a privilege to have that stuff, right?
I didn't think about that. I'm sure there's a fraction of people even here in Toronto and Canada that are experiencing something very similar, right?
Yeah.
When you think about that same concept, like outside of Canada and some of these countries that are already lagging behind in terms of like quality of education, tech availability, and so now the mandate to social distance puts even like a greater emphasis on where they lag behind. You look at think of South Africa, for example, right? Social distancing sounds good, but is it feasible? Do they fall further behind from an education standpoint because they have to pick and choose between whether they want to avoid the spread of the virus or whether they want their kids to go to school,
right?
And even with like work stuff in places like that, it's like my family's from Ghana, and it's like my grandma lives really close to a market, and it's like I mean, I'm sure you can imagine it's so tightly packed in there, and if you told them you had to social distance, it's like how?
No. Yeah.
So what's happening in countries like Ghana? Like, are they socially distancing? Are they wearing masks? No, okay.
I mean, maybe in like the capital.
Right.
But then what happened? What happened in the beginning was they closed the borders.
Okay.
And then they tried to lock down Accra, which is like the capital, right along the coast. And then what happened was people were like, I'm not staying down here. I'm just going to go back to my village. Yeah. Kind of like here, how people were like, I'm going to Muskoka.
Yeah. Right.
But then Muskoka's like, get the fuck out of here. Go back to Toronto. It was the same kind of like phenomenon, right? People were like, I'm going home. I'm going to the village. But then you're going to spread it up there. And like, they don't have the facilities to take care of
the
all these people
and all that
stuff,
right?
Right?
No, for sure.
So it's the same problems we're having here. They have it. They have it there too.
And like the only big difference is the infrastructure.
Totally.
The health infrastructure,
100%,
right? Yeah. So I mean, I got checked. I went to Muskoka last week. Was there for like 5 days. Got checked. It was pretty easy. Went to the Women's College Clinic on Bay and where is that?
That one's quick. I've been hearing good things.
Very quick. And guess what? My results came in 24 hours.
Wow. Yeah.
I was like the last bird to get tested because everyone got tested. And it's like, Sonny, where's your test results? I'm like, fuck. When are we leaving again? Oh, Wednesday. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta get this tested.
Did you download the exposure app?
Yeah. So I ended up results literally just came on the app like within 24 hours. I'm like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, I would, even if you're asymptomatic, get tested anyways just to be sure.
Yeah.
But Toronto, I think case wise, we've been heading in the right direction.
I think like the work we did in March, right? One of the first countries to lock down, adopt kind of the public health philosophy of social distance, stay inside.
Right.
Obviously took its economic toll, but you can see comparative places where they didn't make those same decisions.
Right.
It's an apples to apples comparison.
Look an hour away from us.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so it's easy to see.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And like I said, I have a lot of family in New York, and like right now it's like I can't even go and see them.
Yeah.
Even though it's gotten better. Like they did a good job. Like we did, but the rest of the country didn't, and now...
I mean, a big part of that was having the border closed.
A huge part of it. Yeah, you got to give a shout out to that decision. And I think it's still closed to ground travel, if I'm not mistaken.
It better be closed.
Yeah.
For ground travel.
Yeah.
But not air, I don't think.
Air, they mandate you to quarantine, but like I said, like it's these situations where you kind of look to your politicians. There's no room for politics or personal judgment here. Just listen to what the scientists say.
Right.
So it's cool to see how certain countries were biased towards science versus politics or we'll do it this way. Come on, man, it's a no-brainer.
I know. Well, then of course you got. He's been like the constant in all my podcasts, Mr. Donald Trump.
My man.
That guy. Oh my God, it's such a source of entertainment from that guy. He's so wild, man. He's so wild. It's so like, I mean, okay. So I guess when I ask both of you guys, what's been like the silver lining for each of you guys? Now that we're in phase 3, things are kind of we're back downtown, for the most part. You moved downtown. What's been like? Has that been a big part of your life?
Yeah,
the last couple
that was
months?
A huge one. Because if someone asked me back in January, February, March,
right,
are you moving down? I'd be like, hell no, I'm saving up and I'm leaving the country. But then eventually I kind of gave in. I started looking at the housing prices, the condo prices or whatever, and then started seeing them going down. And I was like, if I'm coming back, it has to be right now.
Right. Yeah.
Like my place is a 1+ den. It's $1,800.
Oh wow, so you're not.
And I have parking.
And you have parking.
Yeah.
So you're better off than I am.
Probably.
Good.
That's the thing.
Where are you exactly?
I'm at King and Joe Schuster, like Liberty Village.
Okay, that's a good area. Nice. And so you have a car too, of course.
I don't have a car.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna rent out the parking spot.
So that subsidizes even further.
You can't go wrong. Like you said, like there's opportunity in this as well, right? So depend on whether you could jump on it or not. I think silver lining wise, like it made you appreciate kind of some of the subtleties of your social life. But also, you came downtown. I've been finding myself getting in my car and going out of town quite a bit. Going to see my parents, go hang out with my brother.
Where are your parents?
Whitby, Pickering, Durham region where we grew up. So
nice.
Just for the space. The beauty of Toronto in the summer is the social aspect, being able to go outside, summer days, Liberty Village and whatnot. Now, with none of that happening, you kind of crave a backyard, crave a barbecue.
That's part of the reason why it took me a while to come back.
Yeah.
Because I was like...
You missed that, yeah.
I don't know. And I'm going to miss having a backyard and, no noise.
Right. That's how you capitalize on the good weather we get in this country by just being outside.
Yeah.
Taken away in the summer. Plus sports being gone. I mean...
It's so weird.
It was so weird when the Raptors repeat, it was a year removed, but, we couldn't do anything for it and seeing the playoffs.
Even watching the games and not seeing a crowd, it's like, I feel bad for them.
It looks like a video game.
Don't worry about me and us, whatever, but them, I feel like so much of their energy comes from...
Right.
Being at the Scotiabank or wherever their home base is, right?
See the Leafs get eliminated last night.
Yeah.
They would have probably gotten booed a lot harder than they did on the last.
I heard that was a very interesting game.
It's exactly what you would expect from the Leafs. Not afraid to come on here and say that.
Oh man, I feel like I saw everyone's sentiment on Instagram this morning. Like I didn't watch the game. I missed the game, but
was that bad?
No, nothing lost if you didn't see it. It's exactly what you would expect.
Did they blow a lead?
No, they didn't. They didn't blow a lead. They never got the lead in this one, but just they come out flat and typical Leafs, right? A deciding game, they don't show up. So
never say never, man. Raptors did it, so
yeah, the Raptors did do it. Now it's interesting that they're the model franchise in Toronto sports, right?
It's crazy.
You know what I mean?
It's so crazy.
Safe to say, Toronto's a basketball town now. To quote Sid Sixer.
It's I think the Raptors right now. I think was it yesterday's win? It was going to be the 50th game win. 5 years in a row.
Year? No other team's done that. Yeah,
that's insane.
It's fantastic.
And then, usually when you lose like a model franchise player, like let's say Kawhi caliber,
absolutely.
A team like that goes all the way down.
A dip.
8 seed, 9 seed if you're lucky. These guys are still number 2.
Yeah,
speaks to culture, I think, right?
Yeah.
With anything, with any teamwork, or professional sports, culture kind of the underlying factor in success, less than the individuals that make it up. So
right.
Nowhere more represented than the Raptors. But it was interesting to see that year pass. And you remember June last year in the city, like the parade, the people downtown.
I left for Colombia the day after they won.
Oh, you were in Medellin then?
Yeah, I was in Medellin. I was like, I'm so sad I'm missing it.
Oh, you missed a parade. Yeah, okay.
I was in Colombia.
Nice.
I take Medellin over the parade though. Still.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah,
Did you celebrate there?
I celebrated.
No.
I got real lit.
I'm going to get some vodka, guys. I'll bring it over here.
Yeah.
You guys continue.
Yeah.
Medellin over the parade anytime. Like nothing wrong.
Have you been?
That. We were supposed to go in March. We were supposed to go for my friend Anshmon's batch party.
Right.
And then a week before, or 2 weeks before.
Go. It's great.
2 weeks before we had to cancel it because of COVID. So
right.
Unfortunate. Now the guy's married, so we got to take him for
Is this the one that just got married?
Yeah, he just got married. So shout out Anshmon and Krupa. I know you guys just got married. This is, But different to see, I think the atmosphere in the city change. The Blue Jays playing in Buffalo this year, weird.
Oh, right.
They weren't even allowed to play in Toronto, right?
Yeah. What do you know what the reasoning behind that was from MLSE?
It was the Canadian government. They were like, "Fuck that, we don't want the."
But the NHL's at Hotel X and Fair.
But the NHL did a bubble. They did a bubble, so you can come in, but you can't leave, right? So. They weren't able to mandate that with all the different teams that were coming in.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
You guys haven't left. I mean, you said you traveled outside of the city. I went to Muskoka last week. Like I mentioned, was gone for a bachelor party.
Yeah, we got a beautiful country, eh?
That was so nice. My first time in Muskoka too.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
no way.
Yeah.
Were you on the water?
And imagine, for me, I was looking forward to the most because I'm like, shit, I've been in the city for the last couple months.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we went there. I only knew the groom who was getting married. Didn't really know his friends. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And it was fantastic. Jumped in the lake. Obviously, I can't swim, so I had my life jacket on.
There's a great picture, actually, that I saw of you. I didn't see you have a life jacket on, but your whole body's submerged, but you're holding a Corona.
Oh, that was so good.
So I was like, that kind of sums up.
Such a mood.
I didn't drink the bottle because water got into it, of course.
Yeah. I didn't expose the life jacket either. So
Good job.
I dipped low enough, but yeah. We were skeptical to jump in the lake because we were drinking and stuff, but I'm like, man, we're here.
You gotta go in, man.
You gotta go in the water.
Black Mirror.
I'm like, listen, I don't know.
Black Mirror, remember
Season
that.
2020.
This is never happening again.
Oh man! And the worst part is that my phone stopped working.
Of course.
I dropped my phone in the lake.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and so I was fun. So I managed and took care of the playlist for the first 2 days. Bomb playlist, killing the music.
Of course.
And then now I'm phoneless, and then we ended up listening to it wasn't the same.
Tell me this
But-
though. Nice to be disconnected from your phone. Up
So-
in the country.
So that's what I was gonna say.
Especially now.
So
Yeah.
not only was I, and it was actually really, it was a good thing that it happened to me, because I was completely disconnected
Yeah.
and unplugged. I had no idea what was going on in the
Yeah.
Twitter world, what was going on in Instagram. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna come back to Toronto and imagine if something crazy like this.
'Cause it could.
Imagine going to Muskoka pre-COVID, and then you're disconnected completely for 2 weeks, and you come back, la-di-da-di-da, and you're like, oh, NBA is canceled, and this is the first time you hear all the news that you're hearing.
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, yeah. There was an interesting piece on CBC Radio yesterday with Nora Young. She was talking about solitude, right?
Okay.
And the concept of something as simple as keeping your phone outside your room
Right.
and using like a traditional alarm clock to wake up. So she's like, it forces you to wake up, turn your alarm clock off, but there's no opportunity to connect until you get out of that bed. So just that, like the mental exercise of not knowing what's going on, on your phone, without work, with email, whatever, just like for the first 5 minutes of your day and what it does to reset you. So I was interested to ask, like,
Yeah.
how was it to disconnect in Muskoka up there?
That's a good point, man. So you're saying like I felt like my days were more fuller
yeah.
without a phone, and I'm coming back now with a lot more memories, like mental memories of some of the dumb shit that we ended up doing. For example, we had fireworks.
Yeah.
We ended up buying fireworks from the gas
Oh my
station.
God, of course you did.
And it was we lost all sense of time, and so it was like 1 a.m. and we ended up lighting fireworks, right, by the bonfire, and then one of the fireworks ended up falling.
Mm-hmm.
And it ended up just exploding everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't hit me, but it hit one of my buddies at his thigh.
Oh shit.
And he's fine, he's okay. But in the moment, it was so hilarious. And I was, oh man.
And there's no phones out.
Like, when was the last time you laughed like that,
I laughed.
Yeah.
I'll show you the video after. I laughed hysterically.
Yeah.
And there's another occasion I laughed hysterically. Man, smoked weed for most of the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And it was beautiful. Like, waking up in the morning, making breakfast. The thing with these guys is like everyone's a cook.
Mm.
We had good food.
Okay, so I saw a ton of meat on that grill.
Oh,
I didn't
Yeah,
see-
that looks so good.
I didn't see
yeah.
no rabbit food, no
The
vegetables.
craziest part is that guy who's cooking most of the meals is a vegetarian.
Of course he is.
Right.
But he listen. I volunteered to help out as much as I could, and all I did was actually cut vegetables and fruits and stuff. So,
Nice.
Could you live up there?
good question. I actually wanted to come back after the fourth day.
Why is that?
I think because we were at a bachelor party, there was like, obviously there was to an extent of partying and drinking.
Sure.
And, getting sluggish, but I just kind of wanted to come back home and get back to my routine.
Totally.
You know what I mean? I'm one of the type of guy, like, I love relaxation, but I also get a lot of comfort from doing shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so let me ask you guys, like, you guys ever struggle with, doing too much at the same time? Do you feel like, because I had this conversation once where it's better to be an expert at one thing than do multiple things at the same time. I look at it like diversifying your portfolio, right? And that's why I kind of break it up in terms of making money and having multiple income sources in that field. But then you have creativity, and then you have like fitness, right? And then obviously you have your friends and whatnot, right? Do you guys ever struggle with that, like having a balance between like getting shit done, or?
What do you think? You too busy?
Lately?
Yeah.
If
Part of the reason I left Toronto back in, it's been, I guess, a couple of years now,
yeah.
was because I was doing too much
Mm-hmm.
and not doing a good job
Right.
across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was just like, I was just okay at most things, like
Sure.
work, friends, whatever, and I was just getting overwhelmed because I was trying to do too many things.
Yeah.
So part of the reason why I moved back to Oakville, because I was like, I just need to reset
Focus. Yeah.
and like focus, because I'm not doing a good job of that here, and I
Yeah.
don't know how to break out of this cycle.
Right.
So I actually had a lot of anxiety coming back down here,
Mm.
remembering
Yeah.
that time, and kind of being like, am I ready?
Couple of years.
I'm ready.
That's a
Right.
big thing
I'm
for your growth,
older,
though. Yeah, exactly.
better job, better friends.
Perspective.
Just-
Yeah.
Yeah, I know how to say no.
That's a big thing.
Because that's I've always struggled with that.
Yeah.
Even at work, I still.
Why do you
Still a
think?
trouble.
Why do you think that is? I think like adding on to that, like, I hate to say this, but sometimes I'm often a yes man, right?
Sure.
Not just in terms of like meeting people and going out, but even at work, kind of like if something needs to get done, yeah, sure, you know what I mean. But I think there needs to come a point where you kind of need to now start saying no, as you
Yeah.
get older,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
Especially like I'm changing my group of friends a little bit, or even like diversifying it a little bit more to kind of better align with some of the shit that I want to get done.
Totally.
Whether it's working out, okay, maybe I need to align myself with people
Yeah.
that are in that
Totally.
direction, because
Yeah.
maybe I lack discipline to do it. So I need to be motivated to do it. And here's a perfect example, like Strava, the app.
Yeah.
Mm.
If I'm lazy in bed like Saturday morning and I'm
Yeah.
like crawling around, I'm like, let's see who ran this morning.
Everyone.
And I might see you guys run. I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck, these guys are out and about 8 in the morning running.
Yeah.
Screw this shit.
That's like me and my Apple Watch.
Oh yeah?
I got an Apple Watch in the last like couple of months.
Okay.
And I started following some of my friends, and then like it'll say
The Nike run.
Andrea
Yeah.
just finished a workout, and I'll message her and I'll be like, why are you working out every day?
Yeah.
And she'll be like, what about you? I'm like, fuck.
It says it though, like kind of are who you surround yourself around, right? Or it has a huge influence on, like you said, what you value from a consistency standpoint and doing day over day. How you decide to like spend your time socially, right? That group of people influences you, whether you wanted to or not, right? Like your friend group says a lot.
It's
about
so
you.
true.
You know, what about like, so you mentioned like being a yes man, right? Like is that because like bias for action, like to get things done, or is that like done in the name of trying to like branch out and take on new opportunities that they come, or is it a balance?
That's actually a good question, man.
Yeah.
You know, I think it has to do a little bit of both. I think it's just me also not being able to say no, because I look at no in a negative sense. That
Sure.
am I giving the impression that I'm unable, that I can't do it?
Sure.
Or maybe it's empathy as well at the same time, that okay, maybe this person
Sure.
is struggling with it and they need help. But oftentimes, honestly, you get taken advantage of, right? And a lot of times, even I'll use a different example outside of work. Let's say going out, you know, it's Friday night and you're like, all right, let's go out. And then it's like, okay, let's do it, right? And then you tell yourself, okay, in the moment, in that present, it makes sense to go out. But you know, you have shit to do the next day.
Yeah.
I've gotten a lot better with that.
Yeah?
If I have things to do the next day, I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
If you start to like monetize, saying this to you earlier, like you monetize your uptime.
Oh, yeah.
And then you start to see it like going out. It's not about spending money. It's about spending like the uptime you have the day after.
Yeah.
On that night now.
Totally.
Where, you know, you're like, I can't
I
afford
like
it.
that.
Not afford it dollars wise, but you're like, I can't afford it from time perspective.
Yeah.
As I've got older, I found that like time is like that's your biggest commodity that you got to spend. So
Even with it now, and not only just getting older, but this pandemic has shown us that time really is everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like time is, you know, I like we've been affected in our own way, but I can only imagine the impact that other people have had. You know what I mean? Like,
Have you had people on the podcast that are on CERB?
yeah, I
Yeah?
have people on that.
I'm just curious to know more about their experience.
Yeah, I think I have had people that have been on CERB. We talked about it before and after. I kind of didn't want to dive into it too much, but or mention names at that time.
Sure.
But I can tell you that, you know, CERB is, I mean, it's great that it's out there.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I can only imagine if CERB wasn't there. You know, I know Trudeau's getting a lot of, you know, backlash with the whole...
we're very lucky to have it.
But what other option would there have been? Like, we would have been fucked without it, I feel like.
Yeah, like Trump put a $1.2 trillion stimulus paycheck, and all it was really was $1,200 per person.
Yeah.
Right? And I imagine having a single $2,000 paycheck for the last 5 months.
Yeah.
Now, even then, people are struggling. It's not enough. Right? Yeah. So that's why one of the reasons, going back to what you were saying, Samantha, rental prices going down is for that exact same reason.
Totally.
People have decided to move back home. People have decided to maybe downsize. People have decided to maybe move in with their significant other, or, you know, decide, okay, maybe we should get a roommate. So even in this building, there's a shitload of rooms and units that are now up for rent.
Yeah, I believe
and some of them are even up for sale.
Yeah.
Because, you know, people are thinking about the future of the workplace. And yeah,
do you need to live downtown? Yeah, exactly.
But then, you know what I was hearing? I don't remember what tech company it was, but people were saying, so obviously my pay is based off of being in Toronto. But if I move to, I don't know,
Peterborough.
Yeah, not even. Let's say I move to like PEI or something.
Okay.
I tell my company, yo, I'm going to PEI. Are you gonna be paying me based off of
that
being in
expense?
Toronto or PEI?
Right.
Because my company announced that we're not going to go back to work until next summer. And then they said, if you're going to move country or whatever, you just need to tell us, because obviously the taxes and whatnot get more complicated.
Right.
But then I'm also just curious, in terms of your actual pay, should they be paying me based off of Toronto? Or should they be paying me based off of me bouncing to Thailand for 6 months?
So I don't
know.
Am
I going to tell them I'm going to Thailand? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean... Okay, this stays between us.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
I mean, even if you don't tell them, how are they really going to find out? Because they're working remotely.
Right.
It's like the whole idea where, you know, even if you go to college, for example, or if I pick up and grab my shit and go to Vancouver, I'm working remotely anyways. There's no expectation of me to meet clients or, you know, come into the office.
Yeah. What difference does it make?
What difference does it make?
Right.
But like going back to that question that she had, Riyaaz, what do you think? Do you think she should be paid based out of Toronto or PEI?
There's like the tax implication from it. You could think about it like if the company had nothing but goodwill, and if they were telling you to stay home because of then like the answer's obvious, right? So, but you gotta. I think like what's been exposed here is we can do a lot more virtually than we do. And so you look at office spaces in Toronto, right? Like the CIBC building that's being built, Microsoft's supposed to move into.
Right.
I know companies like Twitter have said indefinitely people can work from home. The impact economically, not only on real estate companies that manage these office towers, but just like coffee shops in them, the restaurants in the path.
Yeah, the path. Oh my gosh.
With all these big companies with people working from home, like the implication is it's so hectic. It'll be interesting to see how we strike a balance between like economic sustainability for the small business versus quote unquote, like what's best for the worker and staying home and working from home. There's also an element of like productivity. So I'm curious to know, Sunny and Sam, like how have you found your productivity's dipped since working from home? Just like on a personal level.
No.
No?
This is the most I've gotten done in years.
Really?
Is that an answer? Is that an answer in case someone from work is listening?
It's actually insane how much I've done in the last like 4 or 5 months.
So
I'm actually really impressed with myself.
Why so? Like what's the difference between, is it the commute? Is it being in the comfort of your own home?
I think a bit of both. I got used to the commute. The commute was kind of like my little downtime on the GO train,
Right.
Like I always looked at it like that. I would always see people with their laptops out and stuff, and I'd be like, no, this is podcast time, or this is Joe Budden podcast
Unplugged
time,
time,
or whatever. I'm chilling.
Or it's always Sunny in the 6 podcast.
Yeah.
Shut up. Where's the siren?
Depends on the day. But I think
That's
a lot of it
interesting.
is like I get distracted so much at work by the people around me, not because, and it's a lot of it's me just being super social, and it was the first time I was like actually alone on a regular basis since I can remember. The last time I was like this was when I worked in finance, and I think it's just the environment where it was like
go.
Yeah.
When you say work alone, you mean like alone at home or alone?
Yeah. Because my mom's a nurse, so she's out.
Yeah.
Right.
And my brother and sister were chilling, but like everybody always left me alone.
Yeah.
So I got so much work done.
It's interesting.
So much.
I think I'm on the same boat. I think productivity and efficiency wise, like I've been getting work done, but my days have been so much longer now. Like we talked about this before. Like I would work home on the weekends as well. And like just it's not like I'm done at 5:30 or 6.
Sure.
I'm just sitting there at 9. All right, I'm gonna open my laptop and maybe I gotta get something done, get it done for tomorrow. And because I got that item done, I have my morning a little bit freed up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a bit of a win-win situation for me to kind of work longer, because then I know, okay, maybe tomorrow I need to get stuff done. Like tomorrow I have in the morning I have a dentist appointment. All right, I can get shit done tonight.
Yeah.
Then I have that hour during the day, right? So I mean, I like that aspect of it in terms of having the flexibility to better manage my days, even like working out at home. Right?
No, I don't know what that is.
I work out at noon.
I tried.
I know you do. I see your noon sessions.
I really don't have a choice.
How did you maintain that? Because I found there was a period of time where everyone was like, I'm going on Amazon, I'm going on Sport Check,
I'm buying cables,
I'm buying all the kettlebells, all the resistance bands.
You bought a kettlebell in the parking lot, didn't you?
I did.
I remember that.
I was good for like a month, and then like in April, I remember being like, I can't do this.
Oh,
I missed like physically being. I didn't realize how much I needed the environment.
I think the big difference is, Samantha, is like the did you need the environment because you need that motivation and push.
Totally.
Right? And so when I got the kettlebells and stuff, which I got from at that time when the pandemic first struck,
it's like more valuable than gold.
They're decent prices too, right? I think.
No, I paid. Now I think about it. I paid a little bit. I paid $220.
What?
For 2 kettlebells, a 35-pound and a 50-pound. And at that time, I was like, screw it. I need that
kettlebell. Yeah.
And dumbbells are in the same price range, so I'm like, I can do more with kettlebells for a full body perspective than maybe 2 set of 20s, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So I got that. I remember I went to a parking lot, and there was a random dude in a van at Yorkdale Mall. He's like, meet me here. I'm like, cool. I meet him. It's boxed. It was a really nice. It's right there. You see it in the.
There it is.
Yeah.
That's one of them. And I waited in my car as I texted my other friend saying, hey, I picked up the kettlebells. I see another 2 cars pull up, and so he's making some good money
selling those kettlebells.
Smart.
So then going back to your original question, like, so David Kim, shout out to him. He's an instructor at Sweat and Tonic. Samantha, you've been in a few of his classes too, right?
Yeah, he's great.
So he joined me. I joined a group of his. It was a small group, like group of 5. And if any one of us misses the class, it kind of throws everybody's off the limbo kind of a little bit.
Nice.
And then David also hounds you down.
Yeah, he
He'll
does.
message you.
Yeah.
So I don't miss. He wouldn't message me at Sweat and Tonic because the class is so big. You know what I mean?
Totally.
But now, yeah.
So every day in the morning he'll send a text message. Better see your asses at 12 in the Instagram group. So that's what's been keeping me up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if I miss a class, then he'll invite me to the 6 p.m. class.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I have no excuse.
So it's that prerequisite to be consistent.
Yeah.
Whether it's working out, whatever it is, consistency is kind of the underlying theme there of like being able to do it every single day, right? Stay consistent with it. Like, I'll ask you this question: like, have you ever done something consistently for 100 days straight consciously?
Good question. I try to.
Okay.
I have my extreme highs and I have my
Okay.
extreme lows.
Me too. Yeah.
I think in generally we struggle. Consistency is good, but I think it's a challenge sometimes.
It is, yeah.
To make it a lifestyle.
It's a natural
And
challenge. Yeah.
I think it's also now as I get older, it's okay that I don't do it for 100 days straight.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't do it for a few days, it's fine. And that I take that not just for working out, anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like, you don't have to be 100 days on a strict diet. I might go on a month,
Sure.
On a bullshit diet, eating, pizza and all this other
Yeah.
stuff. Who cares, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big takeaway for me, at least.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Give yourself that wiggle room, like, but consistency is like key for anything, right? Working out, you were asking about working out. I find the same thing, like doing it from home is, it's okay and stuff, but yeah, you miss that being in the environment where there's nothing else to do except
the accountability is a big thing too, right?
Yeah, accountability is
so
the
like
other thing.
because
You're
I'm in
right.
the Zoom classes,
Yeah.
I can't even go on my knees
No.
to do a
You're
push
there.
up.
Yeah, you're there.
Like David's looking, he's literally up in his monitor
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
at us.
yeah.
He's like, Sonny,
Hey.
I see you, motherfucker. Get the fuck
Yeah,
up.
Get up. Yeah,
So
get up.
I'll change the angles and pretend. So and
I've done
Give him the arm. Yeah, give him the arm. Yeah.
But you know what? Honestly, props to the fitness community in Toronto. They
Yeah.
came through.
Like I
during
said, though,
COVID.
it's interesting for me to see like even Skullhouse Rowing, like how they iterated off what they did physically
Right.
to be able to offer that virtually, and then like the appetite for people to still, be consumers for it's incredible. So it just shows like the human adaptability to circumstance from an enterprise standpoint it's been remarkable to see. Obviously, like certain industries more than others, but find it fitness industry a little bit like interesting how they went virtual, but we're also able to stay effective, right?
Right,
There's a
right.
difference between watching a YouTube video where someone's just it's a 45
It's
minute
not the
video.
same.
Yeah.
But giving you that interactivity, like you said, where
Yeah.
you actually feel accountable and like
Saying your name.
a little bit of ownership to it. Like that's, I mean,
and it kind of like even when the little things like they tag you and they make videos,
Yeah,
they post
exactly.
you,
Yeah, dude.
it encourages you and kind of pushes you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of consistency is accountability, and then also
Yeah.
keeping a track record,
Totally.
absolutely.
right? So apps like Strava and stuff happen because
Makes a
then you have a
difference,
diary,
yeah.
and it's like, okay, this is what I did, versus me just running mindlessly and not having
Makes a
no
huge
kilometers to know. Well, how
Yeah.
much did I run this year?
Yeah.
So I'm actually me and shout out to Rupi.
What up?
We're doing like a challenge together actually, and we're doing like a 50K challenge for the month of this month each, right?
So run a total of 50K?
Exactly.
Okay.
No, not combined. Combined would be 100, but it'd be 50 each.
Gotcha.
And so we're like, why don't we do it? So we made like a Strava group, a club on Strava, and we do it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of killed it for the first week. Big up to us. We did like about 11K. But then I thought about the idea, like what's been happening in Lebanon and the huge bombing that happened, right? Sorry, not bombing.
Bombing?
Explosion. Explosion.
Yeah,
Yes,
cheers.
explosion. Explosion. And that's been...
We're not
that's-
sure.
that was crazy, man. And just when you thought 2020 couldn't get any worse, right? So for me, when I saw that, I was like, what? Like, fuck.
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
And it was like the beginning of August.
terrifying.
It was terrifying to see that. It looked like a movie.
Yeah, the cloud, like that red, that like deep red color. I
Yeah,
remember being
man.
like, "What is that?"
And then the second explosion that happened, right?
Yeah.
So then so now for every kilometer I run, I'm going to be donating $5.
And
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's the plan for the month of August. And so
That's nice.
I'm pushing. If I do
Respect.
50, that's 250, and then
That's
I'm
awesome.
running for a cause for that sense, right?
respect.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, going back to that, like, Beirut, like, it's devastating. A country that's, and like, how, like, have you guys been following the news in terms of
It's-
Beirut's history? Like,
Yeah, it's like the country. It's definitely a tragic history, right? One of the most culturally rich, beautiful people on earth. But I mean, like the incompetence. I think the corruption at the center of it all is what it is, right?
Right.
And, the inability to move past like legacy political dynasties. That it's a quote unquote democracy, but their elections are still, dominated by political families that have been there since the Civil War. And after the Civil War, what happened in that country? They divided the country based on political allegiances, and their elections today are just essentially a replication of voting for which one of these finite amount of political dynasties gets to take shape. There was an interesting story today. So the government deemed incompetent today, so moved them out and bring in
the entire cabinet actually resigned, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So they're like, who do we bring in to lead the next government? The option that was surfaced was like Saad Hariri, right? And it's like he was the prime minister in January when the financial system collapsed. Right. So in terms of like options, like that's why you see those protests in the street, that people are legitimately fed up, not only with the system, but with the options that they have. And
right. And like, what do you do in a situation where you don't have any options? Right. Like it's a big take on to lead a country. You know what I mean? I think the other thing about this is also like the news. All the information we take in is really anchored by the news and social media. And so like I sometimes, like, this is just my opinion a little bit, but I think that, the level of news attention that Lebanon's been getting from this crisis has not been as much as if it was to happen somewhere in the Western countries.
Yeah, right? I agree.
Do you guys feel like that? Or?
Yeah, depending on where you get your news from.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
I feel like I should have heard it more than
and I should still be hearing it because it's
I feel like I go out of my way to look for info on it to see what's going on.
Right. A lot of places though, Yemen is the same way, right? Like what's happening in Yemen, like it rivals like some of the greatest humanitarian disasters in the world.
I'm hearing more about Florida.
Yeah,
right now, which is like whatever.
Not that it's not important, but
but it's also like
we should be able to deal with all of this at the same time.
And that's the thing. Like you have your pandemic, then you have like an economic collapse of some sort, but then add poverty on top of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then add homelessness.
Yeah.
This is just so many different things and factors at the same time. So I think that's why I'm grateful for even though we're in lockdown, I'm still grateful for the situation that we're in terms of the city of Toronto.
100%.
It could be worse, and it can be worse if we were in a different part of the world.
Other than not being able to travel, like,
we're good.
Well, I'm fine. No, there's literally nothing. In general, I can't think of anything I can't do that I really want to do.
Right.
Other than hop on a plane.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I think between us three, Samantha's probably traveled the most.
I'd agree.
Right?
Yeah.
Any juicy stories?
So many.
Any travel stories? Any crazy? What's been the craziest story in terms of travel? What are the places you visited, actually?
Craziest story? Probably when I went to Asia. I feel like I've done the most dumb shit over there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
Thailand was amazing for me, too.
yeah, it's great. It's just so easy to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the problem with that place.
I
mean, the options are so endless, right? Have you been to anywhere in Asia? Or?
No, I'm a soft traveler. I haven't been much outside of the Western Hemisphere, I'd say.
I get that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, this was supposed to be my year. God damn it! I was like, all right.
What did you have lined up?
So on my bucket list was to solo travel because I was like, I'm single. I'm in my 30s now. I might as well. That's one thing I didn't do in my 20s.
Sure.
And I wanted to do that. So I'm like, I'm gonna pick up a backpack. I'm a social guy as it is, and with this podcast, it might have been cool for me to kind of do an international kind of thing as well. Yeah. So I was thinking along those lines, and then now it's like. But I think in terms of choices, I was thinking of going to like South America.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite.
Yeah, I haven't been to South America as a continent. I was thinking Europe, but I'm like,
nah.
I feel like as an explorer, I could probably explore more.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Europe is
first world, right?
Yeah. I've been going there since I was a kid because I have family there too, and it hasn't changed. It's great.
Have you
solo
traveled?
I feel like South America is the place. I wouldn't say I've solo traveled. Like, I've met people along the way.
Yeah.
You know,
but you've gone by yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
I agree that Sunny would have been like a personal growth experience to just solo travel. I've always heard like it's something you've got to do.
I learned so much
about yourself.
Oh yeah, being at an airport by myself, how to stay awake to make sure I don't miss my next flight.
How was that experience like though? Like, was there any? Were you not scared? Like,
I was terrified.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially at airports.
Yeah. Why airports?
Because I can't rely on other people to like stay awake, make sure you're at the right gates.
Yeah.
All those things. I'd look at my mom and be like, "Where are we?" You know, like all those things. When you're by yourself, you're like,
what about once
I gotta rely
there,
on just me. You know?
Yeah.
Once you get there, so the culture's different, the people are different, the vibe's obviously different, right? So then what? Like, how do you adjust to that being by yourself?
So when I went to Asia the first time, my best friend was teaching in South Korea.
Okay.
So I said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go to South Korea for like 2 weeks." While he's there, I got a free place to stay, which is dope. He was a teacher, So he had like really weird hours. He was teaching English.
Yeah.
And over there, you go to like your normal Korean school during the day.
You're doing
and then
English
you
at
do your
night?
English at night.
Gotcha.
So he worked from like 3 to like 10.
Mm-hmm.
So like during the day, I'd wake up and we'd chill, we'd have breakfast, whatever,
Mhm.
and he'd be like, "Okay, here's a map of Seoul.
Mm-hmm.
This is before like proper phones, in my opinion. This is like 2013. So it's like here's a map. Here's a map. 'Cause Google Maps was like,
If you back then,
Yeah, especially in countries like that.
like I used a map, guys.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, here's a map. Go here, 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 here.
Yeah.
Subway is incredible. I've never seen anything like it.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you'll be fine. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I don't speak Korean. Like, what am I going to do? So I get on the subway. They say all of the stops in English, Japanese, Mandarin, and Korean.
Fuck,
Okay.
man.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay.
Bless.
Yeah.
The Presto that we have here, they've had that since before we were even born.
Wow.
Like
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
whole concept of like, here's
I
a
know.
card, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't put change in the box.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
So like being over there and like being by myself, plus I'm black and I'm a girl, I remember being like,
Mhm.
you know what? I should just do this and just see what it's gonna be like.
Right.
It was honestly totally fine. I think because they've had an American Army base there for so long, so they don't necessarily look at people that aren't Korean like,
Different. Yeah.
what are you doing here?
Right.
I think for them they're like, you're probably American
Mm-hmm.
and like work
Mm-hmm.
on the base or
Something
whatever.
along those lines.
Yeah, or like there's all those English teachers
Mm-hmm.
over there and whatnot, you know.
Sure.
But there's definitely a big cultural. Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
Would you-
Korea was okay. I think it was when I went to Thailand and Cambodia where I actually was like, oh, I don't look like anybody here,
Mhm.
and they're looking
So how
at
was
me.
that? So how was
you
that
know?
though? How was that? Like specifically to your point about like not looking like anybody,
Like-
right? Something in Toronto, growing up in Toronto, you don't really feel, right?
It's totally
Oh,
fine.
Yeah, you don't at all.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
And I realized my experience. I've learned through the whole BLM movement, to be honest, that my experience is not the same as
Mm.
most people that look like me.
Right.
Whether it's traveling or living in Toronto, work-wise, I've always been okay, you
Right.
know? And yeah, even in Cambodia and stuff, it was fine. Like, people would kind of walk up to me on the beach and be like, wow, your skin's so dark. But they
Yeah.
wouldn't be like, ew,
Yeah,
Your
yeah,
skin's
it's-
so
the
dark.
connotation matters.
they would just
yeah,
be like,
for sure.
wow, like, your skin's so dark. And I'd be
Right.
like, yeah,
Right.
yeah, it is. And they'd be like, okay, cool, you know? But it wasn't like a negative thing. It was
Right.
more like, I'm fascinated.
Yeah, it
by
wasn't.
you.
It was exactly for them. It was probably like you might have been the first black person that they've
Totally.
seen,
Sure,
right?
sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
It wasn't like get out of here kind of
No,
thing. It was like,
never.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Never.
connotation matters.
Never,
yeah.
never.
That's like India. Like I remember when I was a kid, like when brown people like would see a white person,
Yeah.
they'd be like in awe, like oh, there's a white person.
Yeah, yeah,
right?
Mm.
But tourism is huge in India, right?
Yeah.
Quite a bit as well. Have you been?
No. And you know, it's funny that you say that. My
Mm-hmm.
2 friends that came to Ghana with me last summer,
Okay.
the guy's Indian and the girl's Chinese, but they both like, you know, live in Toronto.
Is it Naresh or
No, somebody
Oh,
else.
Somebody else. Okay.
They went. He's from Mumbai. They went there 2 summers ago to visit his family there.
Okay.
And she's Chinese, like I said, and so many people were walking up to her to take photos with her, and he loved it. He thought it was the funniest shit ever.
Soak it all in.
And then when they came to Ghana with me,
Right.
it wasn't quite like that, but people would make these like comments, and I would be like, "Oh fuck,
Hey.
they're talking about."
And it's like you don't even know what they're saying, right? At the end of the day.
I did because I can
Yeah.
understand the language, but
Oh man.
but I kept thinking like, I don't experience this stuff when I travel. This is so interesting watching one of my friends
yeah.
experience it right in front of me.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
You know?
It's interesting when you travel. So I lived in India actually. I was born and raised in Scarborough.
Yeah.
But I lived in India 3 years, grade 8, 9, and 10. My dad thought it was a smart
Oh, shit.
idea for
No
me
way.
to
Interesting.
get a little bit more cultured.
Sure.
He had a bunch of real estate there as well.
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
In Punjab.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so for me, it was a big culture shock.
Sure.
Even as a brown man, because remember, we grew up in the Canadian culture.
Yeah.
You know, for me, it's still it's new, right? So I'm put in a school system where I have to wear a uniform.
Right. It's all British.
You know, I'm wearing a goddamn uniform. I have to make sure my shoes are shiny and polished and all this bullshit.
Yeah.
And I went with my siblings, so I had a younger sister and brother who were with me as well. And one of the biggest memories I have is that, you know, obviously, you know, you have that British school system, boarding school.
Yeah.
But for some reason, they thought I had an accent. That my Canadian
I mean, you
accent
did,
was
right?
an accent,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But for me, the Indian accent was
Yeah.
an accent,
Yeah.
right? So it was a bit of a culture shock, and I was kind of like tripping out because they're making fun of me, like, you know, we would like kind of, you know, joke around about an Indian guy here with an accent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so that carried on for quite some
Yeah.
time where I'm like, should I just play the personality and just speak with an Indian accent?
Isn't it interesting going back home and then having people look at you like that? 'Cause I
Yeah.
experienced the same thing when I went to Ghana.
Interesting.
Oh, did you?
A couple of summers. Was that last summer? Yeah, last summer. Same thing.
Yeah.
Like, people look at me. They even look at my dad because he hasn't lived there in 30 years.
Yeah,
They look at my dad and they're like, you're not from here anymore. Yeah, you're, you have the accent, whatever. But they look at him and they're like, you're not from here.
Right. And same.
We're gonna try to scam you just like we would like a foreigner. And he's like, the fuck, I'm from here. Like, what are you gonna do?
That's exactly what happened though. Like I wasn't treated as another Indian. I was a Canadian NRI.
Yeah.
So they would try to scam us every time we go shopping and all this other stuff.
Oh yeah.
But then I came back 3 years later, and I was like a bit of a math wizard in that sense. And I remember the educational curriculum.
So different.
Why was it different? Like,
dude.
So grade 8, 9, 10, you said?
Yeah, man, dude. When I went there, grade 8, they're like, okay, Sonny, what'd you learn there? I'm like, you don't know. We learned a squared plus b squared equals c squared.
Fuck, right? Y equals mx plus b.
I said it with such confidence. I'm like, what do these guys know about math? Kind of. They're like, are the kids here learn that in grade 5?
I know. Because, my parents are from Ghana, like I said. Same British school system. I remember when I was learning calculus, and my dad was like, what the fuck? You're learning this now? I learned this so long ago.
I'm telling you, bro. Academic stream, like grade 9, they teach you y equals mx plus b, and people struggle with that. And you see those, people who went to school outside of the country, and they're like, they pick this shit up in grade 5, grade 6.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that complicated. To your point about the education system earlier, that's what I was saying. I think it'll dictate that, like, we kind of, either pick up or go home, right? For lack of a better word, like we've got to get more advanced with it. The curriculum was like it was ripe for disruption before COVID.
Right.
This is going to put so much more emphasis on, hey, time's finite. We can't keep people in school till grade 12, grade 13. We got to give them what they need to know. But it's interesting you felt that way when you went back home from the Indian.
Yeah, I know. Like I look at it like even going back to the education system, like. Doug Ford obviously introduced financial literacy and computer coding and whatnot.
Much needed.
I'm happy about that.
Much needed. You know what I mean? I think that
Come on, man. Yeah.
there needs to be a revamp because there's certain subjects that are taught that I've never even looked at. Like, I've been working for 7 years now. And some things that history is of course important, geography is important, but there are certain details in those subjects that were kind of unnecessary if you think
and
about
they leave out half the history.
Civics and careers.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, man. Like, there's got to be something you can teach a grade 11 student who's going to enter either university, college, or the workforce. There has to be something you can teach.
Remember when the residential schools thing came out and my mom was like, did you learn this? And I was like, yo, I don't know what's going on.
No, we thought it was all good. Yeah, we're good.
I mean, it knowledge is great. Like, I did a paper in Ubuntu at university. And I had to do it because of my elective, but I'm like, I'm never going to look at this again. Right?
I know.
And some of the most successful friends I have right now, or in my network, didn't really do well in school. Right,
it's common,
and so that's why
very common.
The school doesn't. The options are limited. The options are so limited where you kind of get sucked into either accounting, marketing, and all those big buckets.
Yeah.
Whereas there's so much else to do. Like, fuck, how do you become a sports? How do you get a job in the sports media industry? Right.
There's a ton of it. I don't know how you feel about this. Half of it is right place, right time.
Yeah.
And half of it is what you do in that face-to-face conversation. Once you're identified as right place, right time. Like,
totally.
School it's a measure. It's a way they measure basic competency. Like, was this person able to complete like a standard bar raiser expectation?
Yeah.
Right? Like, we can measure everybody against a Bachelor of Science in Ontario. So like, did he get it or did he not get it? Or did he or she get it? Right. But man, like, it's by no means a prerequisite for success, creativity, problem solving. And you look at some of the greatest minds in the world today, like, they didn't have, the most in-depth education. It was more a matter of like what they did with their creativity side, problem solving side, and then having the guts and being in the right place at the right time.
Right.
That's all it is.
That's really what it is. I think creativity was a big one. Like, we were, somewhere along the lines of education, we lost that creativity element because our minds started getting conformed
to a template.
Yeah. Whereas when we were kids, it was a sponge.
Yeah.
Sometimes I talk to my nieces and some of the kids in the family, and I'm like they're smart as hell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And think about it. We were able to learn a language from scratch.
Yeah.
I'm struggling on Duolingo. I was trying to learn German.
Just from being around it, hearing it, seeing the like actions with it. Yeah, you're able to pick it up and like understand it. But exactly, like the prerequisite of education or a degree or something is being a measure of your competency. It's unfounded, and I think it shows. Like, especially in today's workforce, it's going to become less and less of a qualification criteria going forward.
I feel bad for the students that are graduating, this year and next year.
Disaster.
Man, right place, right time. This is the exact opposite.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
It's the exact opposite.
I mean, I look back at that time, and what I got out of it was the social things.
Yeah, and
whatever. I hardly remember my econ degree at this point. But
I barely attended
learned
those
so much
classes.
about life
Yeah.
during that time.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
my first like heartbreak, whatever, everything
How to
happened
live
during
by
that
yourself.
time.
Yeah,
How do you live
exactly.
by yourself? How do you cook?
Yeah.
Like money
Manage
stuff,
your
whatever.
money. Yeah, exactly.
But like that's why my dad was saying, like I said earlier, like my dad's like, you're so lucky.
yeah.
You got to go to
Yeah.
school and like leave the house and whatever.
Mhm.
Like it's not gonna be the same now.
It's not, yeah,
No.
and it sucks. It's unfortunate because, I mean, school for me was the same thing, man. Some of the best memories I had were
Yeah.
at York. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it was, and some of the dumbest decisions I made in life
Totally.
were at York.
And you learn
And-
more from those, I'll be honest with you, than your
That's
successes.
the best time to do that stuff too.
Yeah.
It's the only time you can
It's
get
the
away
only
with
time
it.
you should do that dumb shit.
It's acceptable to be. It's acceptable to be broke.
Yeah.
You know, it's acceptable to not have a clear path forward. Like, to
I don't know. I'm young. Whatever.
I'm broke as fuck. Like, I don't know what the
If
fuck's
you're still
next.
saying that in your
Yeah.
30s right now, I'd be worried. I'd be
Right.
concerned.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's when you figure it out. So
Is York 100% online? Did they already announce?
I have no idea.
I'm assuming
I have
so.
no
I'm
not
idea.
sure,
But
yeah.
I'm just curious. All these international students.
I've been getting
like,
a lot of messages on LinkedIn
Yeah.
from like students that are graduating just to grab a coffee and stuff.
Yeah.
I've been
Same.
attending a few of them as well, just like, but
Mhm.
it's hard to tell them what, like, I don't know what to do, like what career advice can you really give, right?
Take whatever you can get
Yeah,
right
get
now.
in. Put that
take
foot
whatever.
in the door.
yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Now,
don't be picky.
Now, guys, you know what time it is. It's called the Sunshine Speed Round.
Oh.
Right? So it's great because you guys, this is the first time I have two guests at the same time.
Oh.
Usually it's one-on-one, so it's hard to do this. But I'm going to ask you guys a series of questions.
Okay.
It's one question, sorry, and you just got to get. It's not first one to answer, but for however long you take, let's say you take more than, I don't know, I'd say 10 seconds.
Yeah.
You're gonna take a shot at that.
Oh my
vodka.
God.
Oh boy. The misordered bottle.
All right, it's Tuesday, guys. By the way, today's episode is sponsored by Smirnoff.
Mistakenly sponsored by Smirnoff.
Mistakenly,
Yeah.
I did not order this. Uber Eats fucked up my
Red label.
alcohol delivery
Red label.
order.
Wrong brand. Yeah.
Yeah, you got your money back. It's all good.
But I got my money back, so shout out to that. Yeah. Okay, guys. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
All right. What is your favorite summer activity?
Walking my dog.
Yeah, going for a walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If a movie was made of your life, what genre would it be?
Comedy.
Comedy.
Yeah.
Mm.
Describe yourself in 3 words.
Strong, black, independent.
Not. All right. Cheers. I'll drink to that. You got me. I'm
Those are
going to
three
respond to that. Yeah, you're good.
I've been hearing that one a lot. Those 3 a lot.
What's next? What's
Oh,
next?
you got to drink to that, brother. Riyaaz with the shot. All right, guys. What's your dream job? If you could choose this one position, this one vocation, what would it be? Job.
Damn.
Would you be a Super Saiyan?
I mean, everyone should do that.
Be a dolphin, bro. Dolphin in the wild, in the ocean.
Oh, you said
no worries in hell. Yeah.
I didn't say animal. I said.
I'm saying, like, I just be a dolphin.
He's like,
swimming
I'm
out there
saying.
with no stress in the world, man. Like, no accountability.
All right, so that's actually
Just out there.
dolphin. Yeah, dolphins are pretty intelligent too.
Sam, drink to that. You didn't
Yeah,
answer.
yeah,
Oh,
sorry,
I
yeah, you
know.
gotta
I
drink
don't
to that,
know.
man.
I don't think I'm not watching it.
Such a hard question to ask.
Son, you put us on the spot.
All right, guys. If you guys both watch basketball, right?
Yeah.
Your top 3 of all time
Oh.
Players?
players. Yeah.
Jordan.
Yeah,
we'll
Jordan.
do one. We'll do one at a time.
Obviously,
okay.
Jordan.
Okay, 2.
I had to think about this.
LeBron.
Okay.
Really?
Could easily be 1, but I got to give Jordan the credit.
I don't know. For me, Dennis Rodman's a huge one for me. I'm a
Oh,
huge
boy.
fan of him.
Oh boy.
I
Alright,
just like
alright,
his
I
presence.
get that.
I
Alright.
love his presence.
And then Kobe, man. You could put Kobe at 3.
Yeah,
of course,
yeah.
of course.
All right, cheers. R.I.P. Kobe.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Wow.
I want your top 3 too. I know we're not supposed to throw it to you, but I gotta ask.
well,
you.
my top 3 would definitely be it'll be Kobe, Kobe, Jordan, and for me, I grew up as a huge Allen Iverson fan.
I
Nice.
respect that. I can respect that.
Number
yeah.
4 would be Tracy McGrady, but like
Nice.
yeah, AI had a huge impact.
All right.
If you could pick one superpower, what would it be?
Invisibility.
Mm.
Is that a word?
It is.
Harry
It is.
Potter.
It
You're
is.
good. You're
Get you a
good.
cloak.
Like Harry Potter shit.
You're good.
Like straight up a cloak, you know?
See the future.
Oh man, the things you'd be able to do with the cloak,
Bro.
fuck. Oh my god. Oh man.
Oh boy.
What would you be? If you could just pick the...
see the future. I mean, if you could see
Yeah,
what's
I can
around,
see that.
see what's around the corner, you'd make every decision would be the right decision, right? So
You know, that's facts.
You know,
I would have seen that Kodak stock jump.
But how do you enjoy life
3 days
if
ahead
you
of
know
time.
what's coming?
yeah, I
don't
feel like that
know.
would be depressing, no?
I don't know. I think like information is power, so you do with it what you want, but at least you'd know.
True.
You know?
Like, if you know you're dying in 10 minutes, you're gonna, like,
You
do
would-
whatever you want.
You could manipulate and take advantage of the present by
Sure.
knowing the future,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
So,
Okay.
and I'm wondering if you could alter the future.
Alter the
If
future.
you knew this was going to happen, would your decisions change, or would ultimately that future always happen because...
I
Oh,
saw,
now we're getting into Schrodinger's
I saw a
Schrodinger
meme.
equation.
I saw a meme about this today. It was like, I wish I could go back to my 14-year-old self. I've got there's a lot of things I'm gonna do differently.
Wait, you guys both watch Dark on Netflix, right?
So I just started watching that,
Okay,
man.
this
I'm
hearing
sounds,
about
this sounds like a dark
I'm on
conversation.
season 2. It is.
Yeah.
Sounds like that. Yeah.
I'm on season 2 for that. It's just like it gets really fucked up. Like the story gets really twisted.
I need a
but-
new show to watch. I've just been watching like documentaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched The Business of Drugs.
Okay.
Any
Dope.
good
It's great. It's very interesting.
TV shows? What have you watched lately? That's good.
Honestly, man, my mom sent me Indian matchmaking a week ago.
What do you
Your
think?
mom- how do you
So
think that-
I thought she sent it. I thought she sent it for comic relief. So when I
Uh-oh.
watched it, I was hungover, and I'm watching this. I'm like, this is hilarious. I'm like, Mom, this is jokes. She's like,
She's
no,
like,
son,
"Is
this
it?"
is some real shit. It's some business. I'm like, and so I mean, it got interesting, and then I'm like, then it just got more comical, and it was the best show to watch on a Sunday.
Do you have any
Uh,
friends that have done like an arranged marriage?
Uh,
People even close to
You
you?
know what?
Mm.
That's an interesting topic. I like my parents. Obviously, that generation,
Yeah,
everyone almost
very
got
common.
married. And
Yeah.
it's
Totally.
crazy and remarkable to think that they're still married
It works out though.
and it works out, right?
Yeah.
I think the generation today, we think that there's options, and there are options. So we're more inclined to kind of give up on a relationship. I
Yeah,
feel
we're
like,
commitment phobes.
right? And I
Minus
think,
this guy, I guess.
Hey.
I'm not talking about you.
and the older we get, our expectations get really high too,
Totally.
right?
Don't-
Through the roof.
Don't you think it's a matter of like you know what you know? You know? Like,
What do you mean?
Like you don't know what you don't know almost, right? Like so an arranged marriage works, I think, because like you don't know what you don't know. This is the way it is. This is the expectation, but this is also like the path forward, right? So human nature is to like optimize the current situation that you're in. So you're given this situation, I think you're much more inclined if you don't have the exposure, like you said, in today's culture to,
Right.
to everything we grew up around, living in downtown Yorkville, you know, having the social aspect that we have.
Yeah.
You're much more inclined to say like, okay, this would have like, you know, from a personal relationship standpoint, I've got to make this work.
Yeah.
Two people work towards it.
Right.
Now the approach to a relationship might be like short term, long term, casual, you know, formal. Like there's so many different ways we parameterize it as opposed to like you're either getting married or you're not getting married.
That's really
It's that's why I think like there's a, if you look at like the statistics, like the marriage rate for arranged marriage is you know to the nth degree higher than
Yeah, because there's like a purpose behind it.
Right.
It's like you're gonna take care of me
Right.
and
right.
whatever. You know.
That's actually
Yeah.
whereas like I feel like when you meet people, even casual dating, let's say,
Yeah.
on an app like Tinder or Bumble or whatever
Yeah.
it is,
Yeah.
you know, you don't know what the other person's intention is. Are
They
just
might
like-
not even know.
Yeah.
Are they looking for a fling? Are they looking
Yeah.
for a relationship? Are they
Yeah.
looking to get tied down?
Yeah.
And then that's I didn't
Yeah.
think about that.
And you parameterize it differently. Like your success criteria is different when you get into a relationship by yourself
Yeah.
versus, you know, here it is, bro. Go
I-
make it work.
This girl I went to high school with, I'll make this short, but this girl I went to high school with, when we went off to university, she went nuts. Like, just big hoe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, failing her classes, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I was the total opposite. Had a boyfriend, was doing well, whatever, and our parents were close. So our parents would talk and be like, oh, how's your daughter doing? Blah, blah, blah. And then her parents would be like, yeah, our daughter's not doing that great. Like, we're trying to figure out if it's, like, what's going on, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short, we were like, I think 19 or 20? Yeah, I think we were 20. She just kept fucking up, dropped out of school, switched to another university down the street, whatever. And then I think her parents were like, yo, we've lost control of her. When in reality, they just sheltered her so much
Yeah.
in high school
That freedom
it
was
was
like-
just
yeah.
the freedom and everything. It just burst, you
Oh,
know, when we
yeah,
went to
yeah.
university.
Right.
Instead of looking at it like that and being like, she'll be fine.
Yeah.
Maybe
not the
we
end of
can
the
get her
world.
to see a therapist or something at the most, if
Yeah.
whatever, you know. But instead, they went to the extreme, and they're like, we don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to marry her off. And we were 20.
Damn.
So they married her off, and I remember my parents being like, what the fuck? Like, like we came here so that we don't have to do this shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, I remember my dad was so mad at her parents because he was like, why are you doing this? Like, she's fine.
Yeah.
She's just rebelling.
Yep.
She's like 19. She'll be okay. If you're really that concerned, just get her to come home to Oakville.
Yeah.
Get her to stay home, work, just keep her around if you're really that concerned.
Yeah.
Because marrying her off to someone, like, what is...
So how is she doing today?
She's still married.
Okay.
It's been, 10 years?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Has 3 kids?
Oh, wow. So, I mean, yeah.
I don't know if she's happy. I don't really talk to her anymore, but I remember, they did the marriage... Like, they got married in, a rec center in Oakville because it was just so last minute.
Yeah.
It was super last minute. They got married in a rec center, and then they did a more proper wedding, I think, in Dubai later on. But it was just super last minute. We were only 20 years old.
Yeah.
Crazy,
and some of our friends were in it. I wasn't. I wasn't because I was traveling at the time with my family. But our friends were in it, and even they were like, "This is fucked up."
That's pretty fucked up because honestly, if 20-year-old me versus 31-year-old me.
Yeah.
With no position to make lifelong decisions.
No.
Yeah.
Is in my that's just it's scary. It's scary, and I mean, I wouldn't be the person I am today if I didn't go through all the shit that I did in my 20s. I feel like everyone can relate to that, right?
100%.
I'm at a point, going back to the whole Indian matchmaking stuff. I mean, I wouldn't go through an Indian matchmaker, but then how is it any different from apps like Bumble and Tinder?
Exactly.
And I never thought myself to be single and on these apps to today, but I'm on a date, going on a date tomorrow, and looking forward to it and stuff, and it should be fun. But it's as you get older, you kind of open your mind to meeting new people and understanding that I don't really need to have high expectations. I just need to be with someone that can tolerate me and I tolerate them, and we work towards it together. Because I want to ask you guys this too, Instagram and social media has the perfect version of us.
Ugh.
And that makes it so shitty and sucky to judge people.
Yeah.
And I think that vulnerabilities is everyone has vulnerabilities, but the social media doesn't do a good job at showing those vulnerabilities. No. Right. And I'm pretty open to that. I talk about it. I think that everyone should. You really get to understand a person when you get to know their vulnerabilities more than you get to know the other stuff that's going on. Right.
No, technology, I don't know how you feel about it, Sam, technology is not, it's not, positive or negative, but it's not neutral. It's depends how you want to use it, right?
Right.
So you could have people who use it for the perspective of propagating themselves. You could have people could use it for the perspective of ingesting other people's lives and ingesting other people's social experiences. You could have people who just use it casually. It depends what you want to make of it. But this concept that it's technology in general, it's not inherently good or bad. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely not neutral. It depends how you perceive it, right?
Yeah.
Imagine having an Instagram that showcases your vulnerabilities and
oh my
bullshit.
God, help.
But then on the plus side, would that make everyone depressed? Because I think it's crazy and complicated because the good stuff we see on social media is we think that everyone's perfect around us, and then you start feeling like shit because it's what's going on with my life? Yeah. And then you learn about the little nuances. I learned it through my other friend who's the rapper Tony. How people out there rent Lamborghinis and rent cars, take pictures with them.
Yeah, and then they get taken back to the dealership.
And you're like, fuck, I've been working my 9 to 5 and I went to school and all this bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what could I have done? And it's it's nothing. You know what I mean?
Comes down to you though. Comes down to what you perceive as being successful, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now I want to ask you guys something. So Sam, let's say now we're on this topic of Bumble and Tinder. It's a random topic, but if you have the bill, who do you think should pay for the bill? The guy or the girl? This is a topic that was brought up on. Shout out to Mr. Koa on his podcast. And I was watching.
Guys asking deep questions. Shit.
I'm okay with splitting it.
Are you?
Yeah, I've always been like that though.
That's awkward though, no?
I mean,
I guess it depends on the person.
I guess it depends on the person and where we go.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I find on the first dates it's usually the guy.
Yeah.
But I don't want to set the precedent of I'm expecting that from you each time.
Yeah.
Because whenever I've been in a relationship, it's we'll just go back and forth.
Right.
Naturally. I'm not gonna be remember last time. It'll just be I'll just get it.
I got you.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah. If a guy ever says that, that's kind of awkward.
No. But I know a lot of girls that are the guy should always pay.
Right.
And I'm no. Yes.
I bring that up because it was similar to it was a meme on 6 Buzz where I forgot what it was the girl, her rent getting covered by the guy.
I saw this.
Right? Did
Is
you
that
see
some like sugar daddy shit? Bro.
Not even sugar daddy shit. Just in general, when you have like you're in a relationship.
I have friends that do that. It's wild.
Oh yeah.
That's a wild world.
No way.
Yeah.
All things equal though.
Yeah.
All things equal though. There's girls who are gonna want to take care of their own shit, and there's
Yeah.
guys who are gonna want to take care of their own shit.
Totally.
So it just comes down to like just communicate.
Yeah.
On a first date, yeah, like if you're the guy, you might want to pick up the fucking
Yeah.
check. Long term though, like you put yourself in put yourself in the girl's shoes, put yourself in the guy's shoes.
Sure.
Now answer that question. Like it becomes a little bit different, right? Like
Okay.
so if you're a girl, like you might be sitting there being like, damn, like this motherfucker took me to Cactus Club, and he wants me to pick up for his 2 Coors Light and shit. Like fuck that. Like, but if you're a girl,
rack
you might
up
be
the
like,
bill
He's
and
talking about
say-
you. You're a Cactus Club guy.
I'm a professional. Like
I know you
I got my
I
own
haven't been to
stuff.
Cactus Club in a while.
Hey,
right?
Yeah, no one has.
I'm a professional. I got my
Like
own
6
stuff.
months.
So you don't want to stress that. So I think it's just like perspective communication. It's interesting you bring it up though, and the whole feeling of like, and the whole like sense of like empowerment and stuff. It's a small thing, but it says a lot too, right? Like
Yeah.
I deal with it. To your point, like get one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Play it par and like
Totally.
no bullshit ass.
Yeah, I just brought that up just to see different perspectives, but I think partnership is important. Like
Oh,
it's-
yeah.
and I think throughout, like eventually, if you're gonna put someone that's your family.
Yeah,
Like I'm
and-
not really into like
Fuck it.
prenups. I don't personally believe in that, or like having separate joint accounts and all that stuff.
Mm.
But I do believe in the idea of like we should both strive to be independent in the sense of having being on our own 2 feet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, put yourself in a female's shoes, right? So from an independent standpoint, you also don't want to go around. You're a successful, professional, independent. Like, you also don't want to go around and feel like someone's gonna get my Uber and someone's gonna get my drinks. Like,
Right.
you can take care of yourself too. Same way.
Yeah, it's cool. So we were in the middle of a speed round, and it's great how we got segued.
Tangential there. Yeah.
No, so I didn't want to stop the conversation. So this
No,
is
you're
exactly we pick on these different topics, and I think we'll just continue elaborating
Sure.
on each question, right? So what celebrity annoys you the most right now?
I guess Donald Trump.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
a celebrity.
He's
No.
not a president. He is a celebrity.
Yeah.
Would you want to see him for a second term?
I mean, it's
Do I have
irrelevant.
a choice?
It's irrelevant what we think. Yeah,
Do people have a
we have a
choice?
choice.
Yeah. I mean,
You know?
the options are kind of limited to
I
you
think,
guys.
I think he's gonna win.
I think it's gonna win, but I think it's gonna be
He's gonna win.
yeah.
Biden? Come on.
Well, it's not even about Biden. I think
Anyone else? No.
there's no other great
Maybe
option.
Kanye.
Biden or Kanye? Come on, Trump's taking it.
Is
Yeah.
Kanye still running?
No, man. Like, it can't be for real.
That was really weird.
Oh,
That was an
man.
interesting
Yeah.
thing on Twitter for the last couple of weeks. It was
I mean,
sad.
So sad.
It was really sad.
I'm a huge Z fan, but it was just shitty to see the whole.
It was really sad.
Yeah. Then going back to mental health, like
Oh yeah.
I talked about it last week, like with like, so I'm coming up on a podcast. Shout out to Pearly, on the Diatribe podcast. We're gonna talk about
Hey.
mental health.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's good.
It's going to be like the male's perspective of mental health. And one of the
That's
things
good.
that I'm going to bring up is that it's not, we talk about our problems when we're like drunk half past midnight.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's when men usually start talking.
Totally.
Versus casually picking up the phone at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, like I'm not doing well.
And we don't do that.
I
And
know.
even I struggle with that sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think that's something that I'm going to talk about, kind of bring a bit more awareness of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How has your mental health? Have you guys been struggling during this pandemic with anything?
I have
or-
all the things to say about this.
yeah, especially with everything that's been happening, like in the world as it is, right?
The first like 2 or 3 months, this kind of goes back to the whole like working
Right.
till whatever hour thing. I was doing that so much, and I'm not saying that was my workshop like fault, because like I found myself just constantly doing that too. But I actually look back at that time and I
Right.
realized I probably burned out
Okay.
so many times,
Right.
or I was on the edge of burning out so many times
Right.
that it didn't really hit me until the last like month or so.
Mhm.
And I've noticed that with other people at work too. There's been this like lull over the last few weeks, and I think it's just we were so busy
Okay.
and there was so much uncertainty and whatever during that time, but we
Yeah.
were so busy that like you didn't take the time to be like, am I okay? And now that things have chilled out, now there's like some breathing time and you're just like, yo, I'm not good. This isn't good.
Yeah. What do you mean by like that you're not being good?
Like I'm fine now.
Yeah.
Like I'm good.
And the reason I'm asking is like
Sure.
I'm people can relate to it. I
Yeah,
can probably
yeah.
relate to it, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many layers to this. I think mental health, even, I mean, you're a dude, so, like, you kind of added on the whole, like, we don't really talk about it unless we're really drunk with our boys, whatever, that kind of thing.
Right.
But I also feel like as a minority and as, like, kids of immigrants, depending on where your parents are from, I just feel like mental health isn't something that we necessarily talked about at home, even.
Absolutely.
Like, when I was in university, I saw a therapist at one point. I was on, like, anti-anxiety meds at one point. My parents have no idea. And it's been like 10 years.
Wow.
And I'm just not going to tell them.
Yeah.
Because I don't want them to think that they failed me as parents or whatever. That was literally just me not having a good time at that time in my life. It has nothing to do with them, you know? And I think now I'm in an environment where people are a lot more open about mental health. Plus, I've noticed as things have slowed down, they're bringing it up a lot more at work. They're like, if you're not doing well, like, you need to tell someone.
Right.
We have all these, like, online therapy sessions that you get access to now, which is really great. You don't have to think, oh, I want to go see a therapist. Do I need to go and literally sit down in front of someone? Like, no, now there's online versions of that. Yeah. So I do mine, like, once a week, and it's through, like, a Zoom call kind of thing. It's like an hour a week.
That's great.
Yeah. I mean, I could do more than that, but it's been more than enough, and I'm sure they're killing it right now.
I need to get back into that. I used to see a physiotherapist 2 years ago almost.
Yeah.
And I remember, not a physiotherapist.
I know what you mean.
Psychotherapist.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And it was just through work, actually, EPM program that they recommended. And it was just, and I think that one of the things that changed me and was just the idea that you don't need to have a problem to go see a mental health
100%.
expert. It's more preventative, you know, and everyone has some sort of issue. They just don't know how to address it.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And how they do address it is usually drinking or going out, going to Escobar, petty cash, distracting themselves and not having to deal with it. And I think as I'm getting older and through this pandemic, those options have kind of gone out the window for me.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so now you have to be in the confines of your home and deal with it kind of thing.
You have to be alone with your thoughts.
And then that's when you realize, oh, okay, you know what? This is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not happy about a certain thing, what can you do?
Totally.
And then you start working on it.
Yeah.
And so that's I agree with you totally. I think that I can't bring that up with my parents though.
No.
You know, I tell my mom that I'm seeing a therapist or so and so. They'll be like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like is something wrong, right? They don't understand what that is. But like in the minority communities, mental health is huge.
Huge.
You know how brown people drink? There's a reason why they drink so much. Right?
It's about vulnerability, right? Like who you feel comfortable being vulnerable around.
Totally.
Yeah.
You think about it, like, so your social circle, I don't know, like, do you really want to, hook up once a week and, like, be vulnerable around someone with your spouse? Like, so it kind of gives you the out to be vulnerable, but also, like, totally transparent. And then just that release is, like, more valuable than anything. It's interesting you brought up the taboo about it in the community. Like,
yeah, I brought it up.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like, it's super
huge.
fascinating how you have, like, certain communities that look at it with a different connotation than others, and I don't know.
They
like,
just kind of suck it up. They're like,
and I don't know what it takes to get past
up.
that, right? Like, how do we actually, if you think of generation to generation, like change or transformation of culture, right? Like, what do we have to do to lay the groundwork to actually get past it? Is always something that fascinates me because it's huge in my community as well. Like how you actually get over the fact that it's not a deficit or it's not like a detriment or something that's representative of weakness. It's just like a reality, and like everyone probably has some level of vulnerability. So
right,
super interesting.
Everyone does guaranteed. Everyone has a
guaranteed.
level
You're right.
Of, yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
It's just that they don't either know what it is.
Have you watched The Sopranos?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm gonna get roasted. I have not, but
Have
I need to. I need to.
Really?
Yeah.
So the whole show, you could
to.
bring it back to the whole show is based
Right.
on. It's not mobsters. It's not Italians. It's not the mafia. The whole show is based on Tony Soprano, the boss of the family, and his relationship with his psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
the vulnerabilities that he expresses through there,
Yeah.
and the ups and downs mentally that goes through there, and like
Yeah.
that's really what it's about, right?
Totally.
Till the end.
Yeah.
And that's why that show blows my mind to this day. I think like it's deep on so many levels culturally, but like when you look at it, it's a show about mental health. you know?
Yeah.
So like that's what it's all about.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
really super interesting.
For sure.
You got to get on that though. That's unacceptable.
Have you guys been watching anything interesting?
Lately, I checked out a couple episodes of Dark. Rhea got a lot further.
Is it on Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. Rhea got a lot further on it than I did. But I haven't watched anything since Succession.
I still haven't watched that.
Succession was good.
Oh, Succession was fantastic.
Succession was great. Succession was actually surprisingly was better than I expected.
Oh, it was fantastic.
It was great. It's not done yet. Done yet, right?
No, they got to come out with season 3. I heard it was supposed to come out this year, but got derailed because of COVID in terms of filming.
Right. It's like everything right now.
Did you guys watch the new season of Umbrella Academy?
I haven't checked any of that. How is it?
Don't tell me anything.
I haven't seen it yet. No.
Okay, good.
I've watched maybe like an episode and a half.
I've been on a documentary thing lately.
Any good documentaries?
Like I said, Business of Drugs.
Okay.
It's great.
All right.
It's great.
Okay.
Yeah, very interesting.
What's it about?
Each episode, it's this woman who used to work for the CIA, and each episode focuses on a different drug. So it's like cocaine's one, heroin's one. I think that might be my favorite one. It's really interesting. It's talking about how
heroin or
yeah, the heroin one was interesting because it talks about how they can't go through their normal, I guess, like travel paths to get to the U.S. and whatever. Normally they'd go through like the Middle East, Syria, and whatnot. Right. But because that area is so
fucked up,
unstable, they're going through Kenya.
Really?
Yeah, they're going through Kenya.
Crazy.
Because it's like stable enough.
Okay.
But then also corrupt enough.
Right.
It's like that nice mix of the two.
Yeah.
It's safe, but you can get it through. Yeah.
Exactly. So then it talks about how they're going through Kenya, and then she interviews people that are like smuggling it or smuggled it.
Right.
There's even at one point she talks to this guy who's an official there, and she's like, so there's obviously a problem here. It's going through here, but people are also doing it here as a result. And he's like, no. It's not a problem here. And I remember watching that being like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
Africans. Love you, but...
one of a kind, yeah.
One of a kind.
The drug business in general is like, I actually want to... I've been watching another documentary. I forgot the name, but I'll, when it comes up to mind, I'll let you know what it is. But yeah, the whole trade for drugs is probably impacted so much by this pandemic because the border being shut down and all that other bullshit.
They'll find ways.
They'll find ways.
They'll find ways. When I went to Colombia last summer, I learned so much.
Right.
So much.
How so?
It was interesting because it wasn't that long ago that all the Pablo Escobar stuff happened.
Right. Okay.
It's like the generation, it's even this generation technically, but even like our parents, I guess, kind of generation, where like it really affected them a lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot of my Colombian friends that are our age weren't born there.
Yeah.
Because their parents dipped.
Got the fuck out.
Yeah, they got the fuck out like in the like mid 80s, early 90s kind of thing. But it's interesting because now there's this generation where it's like, do we educate people on it, even though we're ashamed? Or do we just pretend it didn't happen?
Right.
Because if you pretend it didn't happen, it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So even when we did tours, even the tone of each of the tours, depending on even the city we were in or the part of the city we were in, was different. It was very interesting.
Right.
Even like in Medellin, which is like my favorite place ever now, we did multiple tours. We did one of Comuna 13, which is pretty much where a lot of the crazy ass shit with Pablo was happening. It's like this big hill. It's like a big like slum area.
Okay.
So a lot of the bad shit was happening over there.
Right.
And even just like going through the streets and like seeing these little houses and hearing the history, it was super interesting. But then when you bring up his name to people, depending on who it is, it's like, no, we don't talk about him.
Yeah.
The locals.
Yeah. But if they're like kids, they're like, sure, Narcos.
Yeah. They don't know. Yeah.
They don't know. They might be learning it from Narcos.
Yeah,
They're from there and they're learning it from Narcos.
Totally. That's where they get their history
exactly the
from.
same.
That's the name.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
The Wire. Yeah.
It's just like Voldemort.
Yeah.
One of the tours we did, I think it was in Bogota. They were like, we don't say his name.
Right.
It was literally like Voldemort.
Yeah.
And I remember being like,
the locals said that.
Yeah, the guy doing the tour.
That's crazy.
It's a beautiful country. I loved it.
I've wanted to go to Colombia.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But when you talk to people from there and you talk to them about that stuff, it's hard for them to talk about it.
Yeah. So in Toronto, like obviously homelessness has been a big thing here with the pandemic, especially.
Yeah.
And I've been noticing a lot more people, especially during the lockdown a couple of months ago, homeless people outside.
Yeah.
On drugs.
Yeah.
Being a little wild kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And obviously being on something.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to Riyaaz and I was telling him like there was a big camp here.
Was there?
Across from my condo.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Tent City almost, actually.
Oh, wow.
And I remember, like, honestly, man, fuck, it got really bad. Like, there'd be so many homeless people in the corner, and, like, you wouldn't want to go to the Rabba on Askey after a certain
the one
time.
right here.
Yeah. It's right across the road.
Because tenants would get harassed, you know?
Yeah.
I had a situation, now I'm not going to get into detail, I'll tell you guys after the podcast, but I almost got jumped, actually.
Oh, my God.
By about, like, a bunch of random 5-6 homeless guys. But they were young guys, like, buck tees or whatever you want to call them. but like they were drinking and they were coming to me, and obviously I felt like they wanted to rob me or something. But it was not until, you know, I obviously came back and I was fine. But I think the second day there was a protest happening here for Black Lives Matter, for Reginald, and sorry for Regis, and the police were going around picking up in a TTC bus, loading up these buses with the homeless people. And so I woke up in the morning, went for a morning run, and I saw it was empty. They cleared it out, and I asked the police officer, where'd everybody go? They're like, oh, we got rid of them. We had to relocate them.
To where?
Because the protests that were happening that weekend, remember for Black Lives Matter?
Yeah.
They thought that the whole city was going to get fucked up, and everything was boarded. You know, so they're like, okay, if things go south, the homeless people are going to be the first ones to cause ruckus and stuff, right? So that happened, and then you remember, like, it was crazy, that whole, like, the whole idea of like these random tents popping up everywhere.
Where'd they take them to?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Because there's a little thing near me.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, Lamport Stadium.
So that's probably what it is.
It might be them.
It might be, yeah. It could be. I mean,
there's been a bunch of crazy stuff happening around there. You had a tent
city as well,
yeah,
right?
we had one right on our street as well. You think about it, like, and to your point, like, yeah, it creates a little bit of instability in your neighborhood per se, right? But then the flip side of it is, like, man, like, nobody wants to be out there. Like, no grown man wants to. Yeah, so I think, like, the happy medium there, and coming back to your conversation about, like, addiction and whatnot, it's like what do we have to do to offer these people, like, help?
Yeah.
And only once that's available do we mandate that, like, you know, they either go to it or they, like, use these resources. But, like, the onus comes back to the city and the social services to make sure that that's bulletproof. And I think the reason we saw these encampments pop up was, you know, city shelters where these people used to stay didn't have
COVID popping up.
Yeah, they didn't have COVID measures in place to facilitate these people. So
they still probably don't.
You know, you can have your own perspective. I was walking by the one on Charles Street one day, and I saw, like, it was pouring rain, like a nice summer rain, right? But it was hot as hell in the day. It was like those 42-degree summer days. So these people are sweating in their tents the whole day, and then at night, you know, the whole ground turns to like a mud puddle.
Ugh,
and man, like,
that's
people,
so sick.
No human being wants to be out there. So
you
assume positive intent. And to your point earlier, like, you hope they move them somewhere where they can have, like, access to facilities, you know, shower, like, clean food, clean drinking water.
Well, that's the thing. Mental health and, like, drug addiction is a big one.
Oh yeah.
And then drug use is the other one, right? Like the safe injection sites that were in Toronto, they're big in Vancouver as well, and, like, where we put them, how we facilitate people to actually use as opposed to, like, being out on the street, like, so, like, it's interesting if we look at it as a crime problem versus like a public health or an addiction problem. It's going to impact and influence the way we deal with it from a policy perspective.
100%. Like, well, that's what, like, when I had Bundle Up Toronto, that gave me an opportunity when I was working with St. Felix Center.
Yeah.
So for the listeners that don't know, Bundle Up Toronto is a winter coat drive that I do annually. And so I collect jackets from companies, friends, and whatnot, and they're donated to these shelters. And so I remember when I went to go donate them, and we had a segment with CTV, and it's difficult because, like, it's almost like I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I felt a little bit intimidated and scared because, like, some of these people, it gets pretty intimidating sometimes, right?
Intimidating how, Sonny? Like, elaborate on that.
Intimidating in the sense that, like, it's like, do they want the help or not?
Okay.
Right, and, like, there's also the safety issue as well because, like, I had all these bags, and it was almost like some of them wanted to take the whole bag, all of them, and just run off with it, right?
So how'd you deal with that?
No, I mean, it was my first time being in that kind of environment as well. So whereas people that were already working there, they're like, okay, Sonny, relax, all right, they're not gonna just chill.
Why wouldn't they want your help? You brought that up. Why wouldn't they?
I don't know. They seemed very angry when the news when Tom showed up. They seemed very angry in the sense of like you know, that almost like we're privileged. I don't know what it was, but there was anger in that sense, right? Okay. Couple weeks ago, actually, like a week and a half ago, I was here. It was Saturday morning. I wanted to get Chick-fil-A, so I went to Chick-fil-A and got, you know, and every time when I go outside, I listen to music. So I put my headphones in, I put my playlist in. You guys, I'm in the zone of my music, and so I walk around the city, and I have no idea what's going on around me.
Feel that.
So I go to Chick-fil-A, and I get the spicy chicken number 3 combo. Sorry, you know, I got my got my 2 Polynesian sauces and my 2 Chick-fil-A sauces. Come back, and I'm like, you know, there's an extra hop, and I'm alright sick. I'm gonna come home, watch Arrested Development. You know,
good choice.
Eat my Chick-fil-A and get my day started. And as I'm walking on Bloor Street. Out of nowhere, someone tackles me from behind, full speed. My Chick-fil-A goes flying. My
I love how it's the first thing he brings up.
Like you don't see him. You don't see him coming.
Huh?
You don't see them coming.
I'm walking. He came
Yeah.
from behind me full speed. I hit the top of my back, and my headphones.
This is in the morning?
This
Or
is around after 2 p.m.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
My glasses go flying, and
Yeah.
for me, I was in a state of shock because imagine me. I'm listening to a song
Yeah.
in my head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And out of nowhere, bam, I'm on the ground. It was like a whiplash, pretty much.
Yeah.
I get up, and then I see a guy continuing to run, and I was furious.
Yeah, of course.
And I was like, first, I'm like, fuck all that boxing training that I've been learning. Now's the time.
Didn't even get to use it.
And I see a white guy coming out of nowhere, and he's running towards me, and he's more livid. He's angry.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what the fuck? He's angry not at me, but at that guy. He's like, yo, I just saw the whole thing happen. That was pretty dumb. And he's like, don't. I was gonna go chase him. That's what I was gonna do. And I literally was so angry. I've never felt that angry in my life, bro. I wanted to beat the fuck out of him. He's like, he has nothing to lose. You have something to lose. He's homeless, right?
Wow.
Like, and I saw him, and I could tell that something was wrong with him, kind of
Yeah.
thing. And like, he just continued running. I'm like, what's the point? And a bunch of guys came. They told me, don't worry, forget about it.
Yeah.
So the next day, me being me, it bothered me quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I grabbed a book, and I was at Young and Bloor at the coffee shop, and I sat there
Yeah.
just reading a book, and hoping that I would see this guy,
Mm.
I feel that.
right, to call him out. I didn't see him.
Yeah.
A day passes by, and I'm walking back,
Mm.
and I have Chick-fil-A again. And as I'm walking back, I see this guy. He's a brown dude.
Yeah.
He's a brown dude, has a scarf on his head.
Yeah.
And I go right up to him, and I FaceTime my buddy as well. And because I called a couple of my friends. I'm like, fuck, I'm pretty pissed off. Like, this is really
Yeah.
bothering me, right?
Yeah.
Went to go see him, and I called him out. This guy looked so confused. He didn't know who the fuck I was.
Yeah,
I
no.
told him, I'm like, yo, you hit me in the back. I was angry.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have no idea. What are you talking about? And then he reached into his pockets, and he started giving me cigarettes. And I'm like, yo. And then that's when it clicked in. I'm like, he really probably didn't know
Wow.
what he did. And so that kind of shit happens all
It's
the time.
terrifying.
And like, and that's why like you kind of have to let it slide and be like, all right.
Yeah. Pick and choose your battles.
You gotta like attack process and not people, right? Like I think when you see those instances, like it's not like, dude, no grown man wants to be that guy, even if they're taking something from you, right? Like
Yeah.
nobody wants to. There's rabbits by my house too, and when you speak to the cashier about people coming in and taking stuff, I'm like, dude, do you think a grown man wants to come in and like steal
No, of course
protein?
not.
Like,
Right.
so you attack the process, not the person. Like they're doing this as a result of X, Y, Z,
Yeah.
or like not having access to X, Y, Z and stuff. So
Right.
you think
Yeah.
about it like that, and that kind of meant like what you just described, like outlines, like exactly that. Like he didn't even know, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's
So I let it go, and I still see him, and I'm like, fuck, you know what? Like,
They don't even know.
Yeah, it's
but,
sad.
But like
Yeah.
my neck still hurts. So if there's any
How
physio,
did he, like...
he literally tackled me like he was
Yeah.
attacking a football player. Yeah. And the funny thing is, he hurt himself. Like it's
Yeah.
like that's like he didn't like tackle me like safely.
Yeah.
He ran into me. So like it's almost like he hit himself too.
Ugh.
Like his scarf went flying, and I was just like, and it was like, fuck, this is how I start my day. Oh, I went to Tokyo Smoke as well
Hey,
before that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go home, smoke some weed. I'm gonna.
you're on Blur. You're on Blur.
I'm right here.
It
I'm
opened.
Blur.
It opened up here on Blur.
Yeah,
Okay,
right,
yeah.
and literally right in front of it. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
I was like, fuck. So that's sad. So
Mm.
I think it's just like, I think it's important to kind of have that level of empathy and understanding and whatnot, right?
Empathy's so key, man. Like I agree. Like you can look at it, especially like you look at it in this area. It can be an eyesore. I hear that argument a lot. Like it's an eyesore. It's impacting property value.
Right.
And like it's a natural opinion, but my philosophy is always like, dude, like yeah, it's a pain in the ass for us, but like nobody wants to be there, bro. Like,
Yeah, no, man.
shelter is one thing, a hotel or whatever is one thing, but in an encampment with a muddy floor and 40 degrees outside, like nobody wants to be there. You look at it through that perspective.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I'm gonna like even with Bundle Up Toronto, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to raise jackets now that are used.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna have
With COVID.
with COVID. They're gonna
Yeah.
have to be new jackets. But now on top of that, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it anymore myself because of my new job, right?
So I want to
Yeah.
give it's like it's a pretty big shout out to say like what that grew into, like personally, just as as a casual person who followed it, to see how it grew from something that literally in this living room that I'm sitting in right now, from counting them out to being something that there were collection boxes downstairs, there were collection boxes at Good Lives, there was collection boxes in apartment rooms, like to be like that. Is that kind of like that's that human spirit that kind of speaks to Toronto to me from your perspective, like being in this area that you're at, but still to have the I remember you on TV at Dundas Square, right? And like doing that outreach, and then countering all the kind of the headwinds or the stuff you have to improvise through at the beginning when you're actually going to do the outreach. But at the end of the day, man, like you think about it, food, clean water, and somewhere warm to sleep. Like, what more can you offer human beings? So I got to give a shout out to you for that, and that kind of thankless.
Well, you guys helped out too, man, in terms of promoting and stuff.
Thankless
right?
exercise that you
thank
did.
you guys. Thank you.
Something like learn.
But I think that's it. I think there's just it humbles you a little bit to
It
kind
does,
of give back to the community and kind of
See
have
it.
that understanding. Even in June when I went to I attended all the Black Lives Matter protests because growing up in Scarborough, having a lot of black
Right.
friends as well. I understood racism, but I kind of opened my eyes a little bit in terms of systemic racism, what that really was. That the systems weren't broken, the systems were built in the beginning so that they're always disadvantaged, that group of people. And for me, I came from India where Sikhs were disadvantaged, oppressed by the major government there. So we escaped a country of oppression to come to a country of opportunities, and to see now a community being disadvantaged by these current systems, it's like that's what I tell my parents. I'm like, you shouldn't be oblivious. So I do little things like watching documentaries at home, like When They See Us was a great one.
The key is information.
Information. Yeah. It's right information.
Kyle Lowry has education reform on the back of his jersey.
Right.
I say it like that's the most powerful message you could propagate to anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want water?
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
Educate people. Educate people. Give them information. Like on this whole thing, protests are great, man. Like, what's going to really change it is if people understand the system and understand how the system works and understand how to change the system, and then we'll see change. I always look at like South Africa as an example when Mandela came out of prison and he said like this is what we have to do to change the system versus this is what we have to do to get revenge on the system.
Right.
And there's two totally separate paths to do it, right? And I don't know if he's successful or not if you look at South Africa today, but that approach was spot on, and that's what you got to take away from it.
Did I tell you about the anti-mask protest I saw down the street from your place?
Oh,
No.
I've seen a few of them.
Like 3 weeks ago?
I've seen a few
What
of them.
happened?
Fuck.
You see the one in Montreal yesterday? Like,
What
Come on,
happened?
man.
I went for lunch down the street from his place on Church, this Thai place, and we're just sitting there chilling, eating, whatever. And then I hear people coming towards us, and I hear, my body, my choice, whatever. And I was like, oh, maybe it's like a abortion thing or something. Like, I don't know.
Fair.
That's fine, cool.
Whatever,
Sure.
yeah, do your thing.
Right.
But then I was like, oh, I don't think that's what it is. But let's see. As they're coming towards us, they're getting louder and louder, and I'm like, I'm curious to see what it is. And then they come towards us. They're handing out these little, like, postcards, and me and my friends take it. And on one side, it has all these scientific, air quotes, by the way, air quotes, scientific facts that are like 5 different ways to say that wearing a mask is you breathing in like carbon monoxide. what the fuck? It's like 5 ways of saying the same thing, pretty much. So I'm like, all right. And then on the other side, it was like this like piece. It's like a postcard where like if I go to Starbucks, you have to wear a mask pretty much everywhere right now.
Right.
If I walk into a Starbucks and I say, yo, get me a grande, whatever the fuck, and they're like, sorry, ma'am, you're not wearing a mask, I'm going to be like, yo, look at this card. You're violating all these human rights.
Yeah, I've seen this kind of thing.
Yeah. So they actually like wrote it out, like you're violating section blah, blah, blah of this and this, of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, blah, blah, blah. And I'm reading this and I'm just like,
Oh my God.
oh my gosh. And then like they're coming towards us and I see kids. Like they brought their kids with them. So I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, you're brainwashing these kids. One of them was blasting like Bob Marley, like get up, stand up, I'm just like, yo. And there were so many people. I think that's the worst part.
Yeah.
It went on for so long. Me and my friends were just looking and we were like, this is still going?
Yeah.
There were so many people. Some of them were wearing Trump shirts.
Okay.
So that was like a whole other element
to
all of it, And then some of them were saying like, yo, God bless you. And I was like, bro. I'm not religious at all. I went to church more as a kid and stuff, but like, don't say that.
I know.
Like, that's not what this is about,
It gets annoying because now we have to wear masks everywhere. I get that. But it's a simple thing as wearing a goddamn fucking mask.
Yeah.
And that just shows that people are complaining for what?
I feel about it this way. Those are the same people that are probably complaining we should have everything open, everything like back to ground square zero like it was at the beginning with no. So I'm like, okay, you want that? Just fucking put the mask on, dude. You're a guy. You don't shave your beard a couple days in a row. You're a little uncapped. You put your mask on. You go. It's not fucking bad.
No
man.
problem.
Like,
you're good.
How big of a deal is it, man? Like, you wear it inside.
It's too much.
I don't know, man. Like
it's too much. I couldn't believe it.
It's
Did
ridiculous.
you guys hear what happened in Florida?
What now?
Like there were like a bunch of anti-maskers that are taking a stand in the Senate. So I'll show you guys after. But yeah, man, it's just people want to complain for the sake of complaining.
It's just
sucks. It sucks, yeah.
Like I can't even go see my grandparents in the States, right? I mean, I could. It's just, it's such a shame what a ripple effect this is all having. It is, you know? Like my grandma calls me from New York and she's like, "Don't go outside," and I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Because down there, no, you shouldn't.
No, you're right. But guys, this was great. We gotta do this again.
I'm down.
Right. Yeah. I think this is a great way to catch up and kind of think about some of the things that our listeners are thinking about. Yeah. This random shit that's been happening in the world, and we've caught up after so many months. I haven't seen you, Riyaaz, and we live next to each other.
Yeah,
I see him all the time. I don't care.
That's the beauty of it.
Well, you guys have to invite me next time.
Yeah. You should come through.
No more credibility than anyone listening. But the nice thing is, like, Sunny brings people together to just challenge each other.
Yeah.
Criticize each other, be constructive, and ultimately you end up having good, meaningful conversations.
I thought we were gonna yell at each other.
Yeah, so I appreciate it. I appreciate you bringing us together.
Because there's definitely some stuff he said where I'm like,
thank you.
Bro.
Are you good? I appreciate it.
No, that's the beauty about it. It's an opportunity for me to meet people and opportunity. I didn't know you guys knew each other.
Yeah,
it's crazy that I know you guys separately.
Talk all night, go all night, man. Yeah.
And it's great to meet people. I love having conversations, and I think that this podcast is only getting better based on not just the content that I talk about, but the things that you guys bring up as well. And I think that this episode, the Sunny and Friends episode, is going to be really funny and entertaining because it's a chance for me to chill back as well and kind of just
no agenda. Let's just talk.
No agenda.
And it works out perfectly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you for having us.
But
thank you.
Anytime, guys. Any last words? Any last words?
I hope the next time we're doing this that things are different.
Yeah, we'll do this on a beach in Cabo the next time we do this.
Yeah, like I hope we're able to like leave.
Well, we'll do this on a beach in Cabo. Sunny and friends from Cabo.
We're not all in the same room. One of us is somewhere.
We should do this podcast again after vacation once things open up.
Yeah, I'm down.
Say like, how was your vacation?
I'm down.
Like?
Thank you, graceful host and a wonderful podcast.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Shout out to Smirnoff.
And just like that, that's a wrap. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode of Sunny and Friends. Make sure to comment, like, and also share the podcast if you did enjoy it. And also follow us on Instagram and also on Spotify and iTunes to stay up to date on all future episodes. Until next time, have a good weekend, guys. Peace.